Okay. Mr. Martin, can you hear us?
I can.
Thank goodness for,
You hear me?
thank goodness for Mrs. Martin, to getting you on the internet. Nice.
We forgot what name it was in.
All right, well, good evening, everybody. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Yarmouth Zoning Board of Appeals. It's May 11, 2023. We have several matters on our agenda, but we're going to mix it up just a little bit to accommodate a municipal employee whose tax dollars we want to save by not paying him too much overtime. Before we get started, I'm required to say by our former governor and our present governor the following. My name is Steve DeYoung, Chairman of the Yarmouth Zoning Board of Appeals. We will now convene the May 11 meeting. As required by General Law, Chapter 30A, Sections 18 through 25, and pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, which is known as an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, as extended by Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, the public are able to attend this meeting either in person or via the public access, as we have Mr. Martin doing up on our screen. Members of the public may watch the meeting live on Channel 18 or watch it and/or participate in the meeting hosted in Zoom. The meeting notice provides the necessary instructions and links to get on the Zoom meeting. Please note that audio, video, and screen sharing functions will be disabled for all attendees in Zoom. You may request to participate by using the raise hand function. It's imperative that we call a roll call as well under this dictate, so we'll start now with Mr. Martin,
Here.
Mr. Frapery,
Here.
Mr. Igo,
Here.
Mr. Mantoni,
Here.
and I'm here, Steve DeYoung. So we have a fully constituted board. Good evening, gentlemen. I asked you to come out of order in this agenda this evening, and you, Sir Roger Grace?
Yes.
Did I pronounce the first name right?
Yes.
Okay. And you're at 37 Union Street, Yarmouthport, Massachusetts, property located in an R40 zoning district, and as well the APD. The notice to the world of your appearance here today says as follows: the applicant seeks to modify conditions 4, 5, and 6 of a comprehensive permit numbered 3926 dated December 1, 2004, and/or overturn the decision of the building commissioner for driveway, fence, and interior renovations created without a permit. So I'm going to, usually I would just ask you to, proceed with telling us what it's about. I'm going to ask, we have a fundamental discussion we have to have before proceeding with this hearing, but I'm going to ask the town employee, if he would please, Mr. Ankley, to come over to our microphone and let us hear what you have to say, and then you'll be able to respond, because that's fundamentally what you're doing, right?
All right.
Hi, Board, I'm Brad Inkley. I'm a local building inspector for the town of Yarmouth. As you know, we drive around all day long doing inspections. We noticed that Mr. Grace was doing some work on one side of his property. Now, of course, I give it the benefit of the doubt the first couple of times I see this, hoping a permit's going to arrive, and we see it, and we move forward with it. Of course, we didn't see that. A fence went up. We noticed a curb cut happen. This is when I dropped off a yellow door tag to the house, asking him that please contact us. We didn't have much communication at the very beginning, hence sending out a violation letter. And then Mr. Grace came on in. He had to get a certified plot plan. He is moving in the right direction, but he did take that 40B, that after investigation, which was a 40B. It wasn't supposed to have another curb cut added, wasn't supposed to have any added space in the basement where the dog shed dormer was in question. That we assumed that with the dog shed dormer that he put on the bulkhead, he did the renovations in the basement. He put up a fence dividing the property, which wasn't supposed to happen, and I believe those are 4, 5, and 6. So all we're really asking him to do that he, either modifies, move in the right direction, gets permits, and head in the right direction for the building department.
All right, don't go too far, because there's gonna be some questions for you, okay?
I'm okay.
And we're gonna start first with Mr. Igo, and I'm not picking on him, but he happened to actually still be sitting on that board back in 2004, and so he's gonna, maybe, I'm sure, has immediate familiarity with this petition. All right, do you have any questions of our building inspector?
I do. And I can't remember exactly, and I don't think we have it here, but do you know what the square footage of what we approved was roughly?
No, I do not, sir.
Can you tell us, have you seen the basement renovations?
No, we have not. We have not been able to get into the house at this point.
Okay, okay. I guess I could ask them the size of it.
My name's John Aubin, if I may speak.
No, no.
Okay.
We run this the way we're supposed to run it.
Yes, Chairman.
He is asking a question of this man, and we'll call on you in a bit.
Respect.
Okay?
So they added a curb cut?
So what they did is the property has 4 separate dwellings on it.
Yeah,
They were allowed to enter on the left-hand side of the property and go to their expected units. They only wanted to have that one curb cut at the time because it's being so close to 6A.
yeah.
So we did notice a curb cut, after discussion. He did go down and talk to the DPW, and somebody at DPW did tell him, yeah, go ahead, put a curb cut in. You know what I mean? We didn't realize this until the fence went up, the dog shed dormer went up, and then we did our investigation.
Okay, okay.
So it was kind of one of those things, we hope that it kind of works out for us. We do get a lot of response from just the yellow door tag and, of course, the violation. And he is trying to head in the right direction, like I say now, and trying to correct a few things, but we're doing the best we can.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had right now.
All right, Mr. Martin, we'll go to you next.
Yeah, actually, I did a little research on this, and it appears that the basement was finished 2 owners ago, back in 2016 or 17, and it appears to be 450 square feet. And so it wasn't this petitioner that did it, but it was done apparently illegally a while back. And the fence, I don't know, was the not having a fence part of the agreement at the time in 2004?
That's what you found him in violation of, right, that the fence
I
wasn't.
couldn't find anything about fences.
Correct. It was the division of the property.
Okay. But I would agree, the whole reason behind this and when it was done was to have only a single driveway entering it. So certainly the new driveway is a big problem. And finishing the basement is a problem based on the approvals that were given at that time. A fence, I'm not so sure about, but not necessarily from this petitioner's. I'm sure he was led to believe that these weren't issues, but they are and were and should have been. Previous owners, lawyers, and/or real estate brokers should have let previous people know that they couldn't do this kind of thing, and this petitioner as well, for that matter.
Can I ask Dick just how did you find out the renovation was done in 2017?
Looking back in multiple listing sheets, the 2017 sale on the listing sheet said that the basement was just finished.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay, anything else, Dick?
Yeah, and they, unfortunately, these listing sheets also, the latest one, when this petitioner bought the property, even includes that as square footage and the total square footage, which should not have been done.
All right, thank you. Jay?
I don't know that I have any questions. I did visit the property today and could see the fence. It goes right through the previous driveway. So it does cut the old driveway off and changes that. I couldn't see the doghouse. I mean, the shed cover or anything like that. I didn't want to go to the backyard. So I don't have any questions in this regard.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Antoni?
Just a couple. So you were unaware that you needed to go to the building department right?
If I may speak for 1 second, Jay is a customer of mine at my shop, and I was just speaking with him today. He made me aware of this. This is his first house here in the United States of America, in the town of Yarmouth. He's a hardworking guy, does a lot of work in the town of Yarmouth. He had no understand about the proper protocol to go through to do things. So he was explaining to me what he's going through, and I said, I know a few of the people at the town of Yarmouth. I'll go there and see if you can work through this or possibly help him work through it, because he had no understanding of, you go and apply for this permit for this department to do this, and if you want to do this, then you go see Bruce, and then you go see the building, and so he had no idea about the proper protocol. So this is an eye-opener for him.
So, did you do the work?
No, I didn't do the work. My wife and I sell lawnmowers over in Dennis, on Hookham Rock Road. He's a friend of mine and a
No
customer.
free advertising.
And I understand how the system works here in America and the politics that are involved with the local community and the town office. So I said that I would come here and sit next to him and try to help walk him through it so it all clicks and that it can be resolved some way.
Well, thank you very much. Would you say your name again, please, sir?
It's John Aubin, Johnaubin. My wife and I reside at 117 Pockanocket.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have a few questions, keeping in mind that the proper procedure here tonight is to first determine whether or not these changes to the comprehensive permit or sought changes to the comprehensive permit are substantial or insubstantial. And as we have done in the past, let's see, this is the third time I've sat on this property, and fourth time for Mr. Igo. So it's a sign that he and I are getting older, that's all. So there is, under our law, a provision, and it's under Chapter 40B, Mass General Law, Chapter 40B. And what it details in determining whether or not changes to a comprehensive permit are substantial or insubstantial is a breakout of some examples. This is important for those people that are listening because, you know, a comprehensive permit means that we've allowed this property to develop in a way we ordinarily wouldn't have allowed other property to develop. But it's pursuant to a 40B provision which allows for some affordable housing. I'm going to read you some substantial changes, and they are any increase of more than 10% in the height of the building. That hasn't occurred, has it?
No, sir.
Okay, an increase of more than 10% in the number of housing units proposed. That hasn't occurred,
No, sir.
certainly. Has there been any decrease or increase in the number of bedrooms?
No, sir.
Is there any change in the building type, that is, for example, from a garden apartment to a townhouse to something different?
No, sir.
All right, so the change in housing tenure to another, it's all pretty much the same housing in each unit, is that fair to say?
Yes.
All right. Well, those are the changes that are considered substantial and require a whole different pathway to go down before we get to this board. But now we're going to read the insubstantial, those things that are suggested will generally not be substantial changes. Let me identify it properly. A reduction in the number of housing units proposed will not be considered a substantial change. A decrease of less than 10% in the floor area of individual units will not be considered a substantial change. A change in the number of bedrooms within individual units, if such changes do not alter the overall bedroom count of the proposed housing by more than 10%, and you've told me there are no changes to the number of bedrooms, right? No
That's
decrease
correct.
nor increase. And a change in the color or style of materials used, that's insubstantial, and a change in the financing program under which the applicant plans to receive a subsidy if that change affects no other aspect of the proposal. Is the financing the same financing you've had since you bought the unit?
Yes, sir.
And did you have an attorney represent you when you bought the unit?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I think now the board has to make the determination, is it substantial or not substantial? And that is due, again, because we have a different pathway it must go down if it's considered substantial. Mr. Igo, what are your thoughts on that, since you and I have sat on this very issue a couple of times?
Well, I would say that we should just look into, those examples you said that it says generally may be considered substantial or not substantial. I think greater than 10% increase in the floor area, which I think has occurred here, is substantial. I think them curb cutting a new driveway in is substantial, and I think them finishing it off an area that we prohibited them from doing is a substantial change. So those three things, I think, are substantial.
Mr. Martin, your thoughts on that issue?
I'd agree with Sean. I think, I would say the same thing. I think the fence might be insubstantial, but the other two items I would think qualify. Certainly, I think the driveway even more so than the basement finishing.
Okay. Have you given this any thought, Mr. Mintoni?
Yes, I agree with Sean. I think the driveway, I think the prohibited basement would be substantial.
And how about you, Mr. Frapery?
Yeah, I think the one that stands out the most is the driveway, the curb cut. It is an addition, and it is pretty close to 6A, so I would see that one as substantial. The other ones are, I think would be debatable.
And I heard a reference to you increasing the square footage by more than 10%. What did you do, the finishing of the basement, does that increase it? by
That was pre-existing,
more- That doesn't matter.
or
Yeah, so
just the house,
did that
Jay?
increase it more than 10%?
You're talking if I did work on it?
they're talking about the basement being finished when it was represented by the realtor and sold to you as a finished basement and marketed that way. You were unknown about this, is what Jay is he's confused about what you're presenting him with. He was unknown that it was illegal basement in the basement of that home, if that's what you're asking, when he purchased the home, yes.
Well, I'm presuming, Mr. Igo, your reference to it greater than 10%.
Represented that way to the realtors, to him too, as well. So maybe you have a lawsuit for the realtors, I don't know. Or
Okay.
your attorney.
I'm going to go, I have a question for Mr. Igo, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm assuming you're referring to the fact that it's a mirror of the first floor and any second floor.
That would be my guess. I asked whether the building department had the opportunity to actually go inside and look. I know you haven't, but I'm just presuming if the basement itself is finished, that it's probably near the same size as the first floor.
It very well could be.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just thinking that
We
way.
ask the applicant that?
If I might intercede, Mr. Chairman, I do have pictures showing the finished basement, which is finished quite nicely.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Can you describe the basement for us, like what is down there and what's finished, or is there part of it unfinished? What?
It's finished. I have like a gym area, and I have like a storage. Sometimes I do like paperworks there, and yeah, pretty much all the walls are finished down there.
The whole basement
Yeah.
is pretty much done? Okay. And there's no bedrooms down there?
There's no
added?
bedroom. It's pretty much open.
Bathrooms downstairs?
In the basement, yeah.
Did add a bathroom?
Yeah, there's a bathroom in the basement.
Thank you.
So, in terms of the town notice, there's no determination made as to whether or not the violations, in your opinion, constitute substantial or insubstantial changes?
Substantial.
All right.
I believe.
So then, because I go back to the statute and under section 56.07 of 760 of the Code of Mass Regulations, it states, if the presiding officer, in this instance, that would end up being you, finds that the changes are substantial, he or she shall remand the proposal to the board, being this board, for a public hearing to be held within 30 days, and that's the direction you gave him to appeal to the appeals board. So the proper notice, as far as I'm concerned, we're now gonna take a vote on whether or not we consider it substantial or not substantial, and move on from that. So on that vote, Mr. Martin, is it substantial or not? We'll start with, do you consider it substantial, Mr. Martin?
I consider it substantial, yes.
What?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
He said yes.
I gotta get electronic ears for that thing. Mr. Mantoni, do you consider it substantial or not?
Yes.
You consider it substantial.
Yes, I
Mr. Igo?
Yes.
Mr. Frapery?
Yes, I consider it substantial.
As do I. And so that means now this board will consider the changes, okay? And whether or not they fit into what the statute requires. So specifically, it says, if the presiding officer, again, it comes to this board within 30 days, only the changes in the proposal or aspects of the proposal affected thereby shall be at issue in such hearing. If the presiding officer finds that the changes are not substantial and the applicant has good cause for not originally presenting such detail to the board, the changes shall be permitted if the proposal is so changed and meets the other requirements of Chapter 40B. Well, let's get into a discussion then about whether or not these changes as enumerated, I think there are 3 in total number, are in fact within the spirit, or do they substantially change the comprehensive permit? And I think we can look as a guide to that comprehensive permit, which is issued in September 23, 2004, and a further hearing on November 18, 2004, in which we're blessed, as I say, to have Mr. Igo with us tonight because he sat on it then. And it's called Decision Number 3926. So I think looking at your wisdom, Mr. Igo, particularly having sat on that, and you'd have perhaps the nuances of what was considered in the comprehensive permit better, if you even have a memory of it. Why don't you start on whether or not you think these are within the spirit of the comprehensive permit?
Well, presuming that I can remember back to 2004, which I don't, I mean, I know the property, I don't really remember the comprehensive permit application at the time. I mean, they're small units, I remember that. I believe there's 4 units on the property. If my memory serves me right, I don't even think the piece of property is 1 acre, is it, Brad?
It's not a full acre, I don't
It's not a full acre.
You have to speak into the mic, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Brad.
I believe it's not a full acre.
Right, so, I mean, at the time, the understanding was we were gonna allow that number of units on a small piece of property, but I believe the spirit of the comprehensive permit and the representation at the time from the developer was these were gonna be modest, small units. And so that's why these conditions were put in here relative to what would and would not be developed on the property afterwards. So, I mean, personally, I think I feel bad for the petitioner, obviously. It sounds like he's the 3rd owner after the renovation was done, at least the interior renovations. The other ones, it appears, happened on his watch, which is the exterior renovations, meaning the driveway and the curb cut. My feeling on this is I think the driveway and the curb cut should go. I think the fence should probably go, too. I'd be willing to be a little more reasonable about what's done on the inside, excuse me, because I think it would be a real financial hardship to this gentleman right here, should he have to tear all that out. I mean, if he was the one who came in and did it, you know, under the radar, without a permit, without any, you know, the town knowing about it, that might be a different story. You know, he obviously wouldn't have clean hands. But here, I think he's more of a victim in this situation, at least relative to the basement, what he bought. And it was represented not only to him through his real estate broker, I'm imagining, but when I hear Mr. Martin speaking, he's even said that the previous listings on this property stated that there was a finished basement. Is that correct, Dick?
Yes, it is.
So, you know, this has been going on for quite a while, so I don't think he would really have any way of knowing. I know everybody needs to do their due diligence. Maybe there's an issue with the lawyer who looked over this thing, or the real estate broker, or what have you, but barring that, you know, maybe we could figure a way that we could modify this comprehensive permit to maybe approve that basement, you know, depending on what the others.
So in part,
In part.
yeah, okay. Mr. Mantoni?
I would agree. I mean, the driveway is gravel, so it'd be easy enough to remedy that situation. The fence, I didn't see the fence. What side of the, is it, if, looking at the house, it's on the left side?
Yeah.
It's on both sides.
The fence you're talking about that's a problem is on the left side.
I didn't put a fence on the on the right side.
It was already there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree with the basement. I mean, that's been there for a while. Although it should not have been finished, but that would be a substantial hardship, I think, to remove all of that, so.
Mr. Frapery?
I think I agree with everybody else. I think the biggest issue I have right now is the curb cut. It specifically talks about a single access in number 4 on the comprehensive special permit. And I think that's for safety purposes as much as anything else. So I'm concerned about that one. As far as the changes in the basement, I think that's, it's a minor thing if we had to let something be reasonable. I'm not sure what the doghouse cover door is. But
Over the bulkhead here, I'm
over
sorry,
the
go ahead.
bulkhead. Yeah, so I don't know that I have a problem with that either, but the curb cut is the big thing for me.
And Mr. Martin?
Yeah, I thought of another question. Was the fence ever permitted through the historic district?
Yes. I had a hearing on it and they told me I could keep it.
Was that a yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Martin.
Yes, okay, all right. I know the fence on the northerly side was already there. That was actually part of the original decision. Yeah, I have no trouble with the fence. I think as far as the basement being finished, I think maybe something should be stated as to that won't be used for any kind of bedroom purposes, not that it could be illegally anyways. And I would certainly agree with the extra curb cut and driveway being reconfigured so there is only a single driveway. And again, that was done because normally this property would have only accommodated one house, and because of the 40B and one of the properties being deemed affordable, it was allowed to have 4 houses. So, I'm not thrilled about the basement being finished, but it wasn't done by this petitioner. It's been there a while, and as long as it's not used as a bedroom or rental space, I'm comfortable.
Mr. Inkley, could I ask a question or two? Is there a permit pulled for the construction of the fence, or is one required?
No permit is required for that fence.
Is there a permit pulled for the construction of the dog shed?
No, there is not.
And was there a permit pulled for the completion of the basement?
No, not in our record, sir.
Do you know if there's been an electrical inspection of anything having to serve in the basement?
I don't believe there was a plumbing or electric, sir.
Is there a bathroom down there?
I believe so. After tonight, I just found out he agreed that there was.
All right. And I guess you were asked earlier, perhaps, if not, would you tell me if you were able to tell us the square footage of the basement?
I'm not privileged to that information, sir.
All right. Thank you. Well, I got to tell you, I looked
The
at
listing sheets,
the
Steve,
decision.
said-
What's that, Mr.
I'm
Martin?
sorry, the listing sheet said it's 450 feet finished space in the basement.
450 square feet. that's-
450.
450.
According to the listing sheet on the MLS, when he purchased the house, it was marketed that way towards him, for him.
Yeah, well, you know that old expression. So let's not go there. I mean, ignorance of the law, I get it. And I get it particularly when someone is coming in having perhaps not a workable knowledge of the legalities of this decision to buy a house here, and particularly a 40B house, a housing unit.
I feel bad for him, that's why I volunteered to come tonight. It's just,
Sure. But I've got to chime in and say that I think it's extremely clear that the decision of 2004, which was well-crafted by my predecessor, Mr. Reed, is very clear to me that the driveway was a very big issue, and it's a very big issue to me because I think reduced curb cuts are what we're all seeking to have, whether it's on Union Street, 28, or Station Ave. Everybody's looking to close curb cut, not to open them. And that's, was a fundamental issue that they had then, because that's the way the plan was presented, and that's the way it should have remained.
Chairman, if I may, Jay mentioned to me he spoke to somebody on the town highway department and asked them, I don't know if it was a guy with the highway department in the town of Yarmouth working on the side of the road, or if he went to the, because this is really new to me. And he said, yes, you can put in a driveway, and then Jay said he's gonna do it out of gravel, and in my thought, well, it's permeable then, so if we're worried about runoff or whatever. But he said the gravel cannot go out onto the road is one thing was told by this gentleman. So what Jay did is you put in
I
a,
don't think it matters. I don't think it matters how it occurred.
Cobblestones
The
to hold
fact
it
that it
back.
occurred is what's important.
I understand.
All right.
But as somebody in the, or town employee, not here in this room,
Speak for this board.
doesn't speak for this board.
Yeah.
Told him that so Jay, not being from here, knowing how everything's.
Doesn't matter to me because he had legal counsel. Legal counsel and his realtor should have checked and seen if there was a building permit for the completion of the basement.
Correct.
All right, and, you know, I think we've heard enough right now. I'm just telling them my point of view. And my point of view is that I absolutely do not want to see this man have to rip out his basement. But I do believe he should have a comprehensive electrical and plumbing inspection before he can use it in any further fashion. If I were to vote on a motion, I would want to see those conditions. I also think that the driveway must go. The fencing, I'm on the fence. I mean, to me, it just, if four others want the fencing to go, I'm satisfied that it needs to go. Because I think it was very much in the spirit of the decision that it shouldn't be there. Okay? And the decision's pretty easy to read, you know.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
the fence that's been added goes right across the driveway that was put in place, so
so it's gonna come out so everybody can use the driveway.
part of it's gonna have to come out, so.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a logic behind all of this, particularly on a comprehensive permit. So, what was the third thing? You had a third thing. Oh, the dog shed, huh? Was that all there was? The dog shed, the
I
basement?
mean, permitting the basement and the dog shed dormer, would like to see those completed, you know?
All right. I think the dog shed addition there is so innocuous and screened, essentially. It's not going to really bother anybody. I don't think it changes the intent and thought of the special, of the comprehensive permit, but again, I wasn't there to consider it. So, anybody prepared to make a motion so that we can move this along on
Yeah,
what we are and aren't willing to do with respect to the petition?
I will. Move that we allow the comprehensive permit, what number this, I don't have the number in front of me, to be modified to the extent that,
26,
what's the number?
3926.
3926, be modified to the extent that the petitioner allow the town to make inspections of the interior work done and any exterior work done.
I need to pull up. her-
Petitioner to obtain all necessary permits as required. And to comply with all building codes.
Okay?
Curb cut to be removed.
Yep.
Driveway to be returned to a single driveway.
Jay.
Yep.
the new fence to be removed. So allow for the,
Allow for the fence on the side, I don't know if they want,
I'm only this one fence that seems to interrupting the driveway part.
but it goes all the way back, so just to remove it.
Gentlemen, could somebody tell us, please, which fence is the new fence? The one that comes right down the driveway?
Across the
Yeah.
driveway.
Left-hand side of the house when you're facing it.
Left-hand side of the house?
You can see where the driveway used to go through into his property.
John, what I was
Gotta
asking.
cut it in half.
Is it all right if I ask it?
Sure.
The fence comes all the way down the left side, and then it crosses what was the old driveway. I don't know if you want to have the whole fence removed, or just to the point where the where it encroaches upon the old driveway.
That section that encroaches upon the old driveway, that part right there, I guess.
And you did get approval from the Old King for historical, for the driveway, or?
It's all right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, a motion's been made. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Mr. Frapery seconds it. Now, would the board care to have any discussion on it before proceeding to a vote? Hearing none. Mr. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Mantoni?
Aye.
Mr. Igo?
Aye.
Mr. Frapery?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so we can clarify it. It will be put into a written decision. The basement stays, the dog shed stays, the fence gets moved over, and the curb cut gets removed.
Did
All
I
right?
say all permits required and necessary?
Permits. Yes.
Okay.
Nice work, but
It's all right.
So this gentleman will work with you to help to get you the inspections and the like. But I noticed we didn't put any timetable on this. Do you have a timetable that you consider reasonable at this time of year?
Well, to be honest with you, an application doesn't take that long to fill out and submit, and get the process moving. So a couple of weeks to see the process start would be a good idea.
Well, will you do an inspection in a couple of weeks then?
We should be able to line that up, no problem. We're about 2 weeks out, but he'd have to get the permit in, and it'll probably take about a week to approve. Once it's approved, of course, we can go out and do the proper inspection.
Do you think he could get everything done in, say, 90 days, or would he need more time than that, Brad?
I think he could do it in 90 days. It depends on the plumbing and electrical inspector. If they go down and find something wrong, and I find something wrong in the way it's built, we might have an issue. Could take a little time for him to correct that manner, especially if it's a life safety issue.
What if we put 120 days must be completed? Sound like a reasonable time, do you think?
It sounds fine to me, but I think it's more the building department that's
Would
the
just like
issue.
to see it move in the right direction.
So are you suggesting your motion should now include a provision for 120-day completion of the work?
I would think so.
And Mr. Martin, would your vote remain the same with that limitation?
Yes, it would.
And Mr. Mantoni?
Yes.
And you, Mr. Frapery?
yes.
And it does for me as well. I think 120 days is more than enough time, and it's, again, it's not mea culpa, because I didn't know. It's too bad. I mean, I'm sorry about it. I agree with you. It's sad to see it happen, but, all right, very good. Thank you very much. A decision will be drafted. It will be filed with the town clerk's office. That decision, once filed, 20 days must elapse before it's considered a final decision. That's a technical period for appeal, if somebody wishes to appeal, including the petitioner, okay? And under the 40B provisions. So if there be no appeal, then that means you gotta get the building permits going, and you gotta get this work done, and it should be a no-brainer, okay?
So he can keep the fence, but move the fence over?
Yeah, you can do that now.
I'm just trying to, and then the driveway that you put in.
I'm gonna write a decision, gentlemen.
Got it.
We have a lot of people that would like to speak tonight, so let's see if we can move this along, okay?
It's out the cross.
Thank you, though. Very, very appreciative of your help of,
Just take the
petition.
fence across, that crosses the driveway, that blocks it from where it was. You'll see, if you go, you'll know what I said.
okay, next matter.
Crosses the old
Next
driveway.
matter is petition 5016, Elise Frazier. I guess doing business as Invictus Barbell Club, which is located at 6 Corporation Road in Yarmouthport. That property is located in a B3 zoning district and within our Aquifer Protection District. The applicant seeks a special permit pursuant to 202.5 of our bylaws for a change in use of the property from, well, I don't know what the current use is, but to an N11 use under the use table. So, good evening.
Good evening.
Tell us who you are.
My name is Elise Frazier. I was born and raised on Cape Cod. I started as a personal trainer about a little less than a decade ago. Since then, I have helped a very large group of people. My clientele include general population, mothers, fathers, police, fire, healthcare workers, military veterans, educators, small business owners, and their employees of all ages and abilities. Invictus Barbell Club is something that I'm very incredibly passionate about. The location for the change, the current place that it is right now, aesthetically wasn't the prettiest. So the goal is to also bring a nicer looking building to that area.
Okay, thanks for being so succinct. Everybody else out there thanks you, too. All right, I think that's pretty straightforward, but we're going to invite board members to ask questions, and then we're going to invite the audience to say whether or not they'd have anything to say in favor or against this petition, okay? So, Mr. Frapery, do you have any questions of the petitioner?
Just a couple. The building is now, I think, number 6 and number 8, is that correct? It, I think, has two parts to it?
It's one building that has 2 bays, but it's only marked as number 6.
The whole thing is number 6?
Correct.
Okay. What kind of parking do you, I mean, it has parking in the front. I just wondered how many spaces do you think?
Correct. So it would be a private appointment only, so people that would be there would only be there to see myself. So about 8 to 10 parking spaces that are allotted in the front anyways, that has room for that, would be all that would be used.
Okay, I saw a front door. Is there a back door for egress too, if it, in case of emergencies or anything like that?
There are 2 front doors and 2 bay doors
Bay
in the
doors.
front.
Okay, that's all I had. Thanks.
Mr. Igo?
Thank you. So that's the question, one of the questions I was going to ask you. I think you probably already answered it. So it's not an open to the public gym? It's so
Completely private,
appointment
appointment
only, anywhere from 1 client to as many?
1 to 6.
1 to 6, okay. All right, so it's pretty much personal training, and you're incorporating weightlifting?
Correct.
Okay, and I see you got nutrition and things of that nature.
That's mostly online stuff. It's not done in-house.
Okay, all right. Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mantoni?
No questions.
Mr. Martin?
What use is in the site right now?
It was a foundation company.
And there's no plans or anything in the packet of the site or anything, so are you planning, what kind of site upgrades are you planning? If
Essentially, the inside would be rubber flooring and set up like a strength training gym.
So nothing to the site or parking or buffers? No. Okay. That's all I have for questions.
Thank you. How is it you decided to come here?
In front of you guys?
Oh, I mean, what prompted you to come here?
In order to
You
get a,
notice a violation?
no, in order to get a business license to do it the right way, the first time.
Okay,
And.
we like to see that.
Yeah, we tried.
We don't have to worry about changing it later on, right?
Right.
All right. So, look, I think it's a fabulous addition to over in that area of town. It's an appropriate building for it. Your limitations of 1 to 6 people, I think. 6 would be what, like a class,
A
a
small
small
group,
class?
yep.
And what are your hours of operation, please?
Because it would be a private appointment-only facility,
So when's the first appointment,
it
when's the
would
last?
it would generally be either 5 or 6 a.m. till about 11 or noon, and then a small break in the middle of the day, and then about 4 to 7 p.m. Generally, no one would be in there after 8 p.m., between 8 p.m. and 5 a.m.
How many operators are there in there?
It would
aside
just be
from
myself
yourself?
for right now.
I have one question about signage.
Sure.
Do you plan any exterior signs for the facility?
Whatever would be allowed.
You want to apply for that, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's really nothing before us. If they need relief, then she'd have to come back, yeah.
So if you need it, you'll have to come back for that.
Okay. Thank you.
So, in terms of our use table, the use N11 is allowed within a B3 zoning district by a grant of the Board of Appeals, and that's why you're here. People at home that's saying, what the heck are they talking about? Well, each area in town has a limitation on what uses can be done within that district. And in this district, it does not apply or allow for other miscellaneous amusement and recreational services, which is what is being asked for here. And again, within the B3 zoning district, this board has the authority to change the use table to accommodate this and this only. Does anybody in our audience care to speak in favor of this petition? If so, please come right up here.
I'm Greg Bill-Ezekiel. I live at 100 Wharf Lane in Yarmouthport. I currently have to drive all the way down Willow Street on my bike to get to her place in Hyannis, so moving to Yarmouthport would be great for me. Save me about 20 minutes by bike and a lot of exits that I need to go by to and from. But Elise runs a really great operation. It is exactly what she articulates it to be. I also want to say, as a young entrepreneur, this is a great opportunity for someone to grow and to establish themselves as an entrepreneuress in the Cape Cod community.
Thank you.
I guess that means you're in favor, huh? Anyone else care to speak in favor of this petition? Seeing none, does anybody wish to speak in opposition to this petition? Come to the microphone. Seeing none, we close it to public input in the petition. We open it up to board discussion and deliberation. Seems like a pretty mild and sensible request to me, and something that's going to use that facility instead of leaving it vacant, and be apparently a benefit to our town.
Yes.
You're going to be a taxpayer over here. That's nice. All right, so does anybody have questions or discussion they want to proceed with?
No, I think it's a fine use for the facility, and I'm all in favor.
You ready to make a motion, Jay?
Yes, I'd make a motion to approve the use.
No conditions.
Special permission, no conditions.
No conditions of operation?
She said hour of operation 6 AM to 7 PM. Why don't we go like 6 AM to 8 PM?
I think she mentioned 5.
I heard 5 too.
Oh, did you hear?
What's the closest residence to you?
Not very close. I
Reasonably.
would be something on Willow Street, so maybe
Okay.
2 miles.
I mean, I think 5 is, I wouldn't do it in a residential area, close residential, but I could see it here.
5 AM to 8 PM, that work for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I modify my motion to include the hours.
Okay.
Sorry, I have to catch up with my writing. I've got to be able to read it tomorrow, so, all right. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
And does the board care to have any discussion before moving along to a roll call vote? Hearing none. Mr. Martin?
Aye.
Antoni?
Aye.
Mr. Igo?
Aye.
Mr. Frapery?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so that carries 5-0. As I stated in the last petition, there will be a decision drafted, it will be filed with the town clerk's office. 20 days must elapse before that's considered a final decision. You would then need to take that decision and bring it to the Barnstable Registry of Deeds, recording it, and then returning proof that you've recorded it to our board administrator. The fabulous young lady sitting over here to my right. We all should be thankful we have Ms. Fallon working with us.
We are all thankful.
All right, so, was there any other relief sought here? No, just that, okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
The next is 5017 Jeffrey and Kimberly, LaRoe, concerning property located at 3 Jerusha. Am I saying that right? Jerusha, yeah. I've never heard that. Lane, West Yarmouth, Mass. That property is in a zoning district in R25. Tonight, our applicant seeks a special permit pursuant to 104.3.2, subparagraph 2, or in the alternative, a variance concerning, under section 203.5 of our zoning bylaws, for front setback relief on pre-existing non-conforming lot to build an in-ground pool. Good evening. Would you tell us who you are?
Good evening, I'm Jeffrey LaRoe.
Got it, Kate.
Jeffrey LaRoe.
Kimberly LaRoe.
See, she knows how to do it. Yeah, that feedback is, tells you gotta pull away. All right. So why don't you tell us all about your petition, please?
So we're looking for a variance, like you said, to put an in-ground pool. We purchased a house a little over a year ago. We moved to South Yarmouth. We had a house prior to this. We've been in Yarmouth for a little over 2 years. We sold our house over on Long Pond, and we bought this house because we plan to retire out here. So we're hoping that we can put a swimming pool in to enjoy, late afternoons after being on the beach, and hopefully someday when we have grandkids and our children can come to visit, we have a place for them to hang out and swim and have a good time.
Is it a heated pool?
It will be.
I'm gonna have to figure out where this road is. All right. So, I think it's pretty easy to understand, but I'm sure the board's gonna have questions on it.
Sure.
And so if you've concluded what you'd like to offer initially, we're gonna move on to that. Mr. Frapery?
Just so I think you guys have the plan, so just so the audience knows, it's also on a corner lot, so that's why we're asking for the variance. So when you have a corner lot, it's considered two frontages, so we're looking for a variance on the side, which really isn't a side lot, it's considered a front in a town, so it will be, the yard is fenced in, so there will be, neighbors won't be able to see it, and I just want to let you know that we did speak, my wife and myself both, we spoke to the neighbors in the neighborhood and the abutters, and nobody had a problem with it.
Okay, it is a corner lot, so unfortunately, you get both of those setbacks, but I know you do face, can't say the name, Jerusha Lane.
Yeah,
so-
it's Delucia and Paula Drive.
Yeah, and Paula Drive is what we're talking about.
Yes.
Currently, the setback is like about 30 feet, is that correct on that side?
Yeah, yep,
And I know I saw the fence, so this would be inside the fence that's currently there?
it will be inside the fence.
So we're talking about really reducing it down to 10 feet from the property line?
It'll be, yeah, because it's, 30 feet is what you're supposed to have. So I think it'll be about 10 feet, so it's really about a 20-foot variance.
But it is inside the current fence?
Yes.
Is that correct? That's all I have for questions. Thank you.
Mr. Igo?
I see your site plan here. Did you consider putting it in the backyard next to your shed?
I don't think there would be enough room there, to be honest with you. It's kind of deceiving because we did just put the new septic system back there, which is a raised septic system. So the raised septic system it's very big. It's kind of deceiving by the way it's drawn here. I know that's a plot plan, but then I think I'd have to move my shed, and I don't think I pull the permit for my shed. I just don't know where I would put the shed to fall in line and have enough room for the pool. Because then I'd have to be, I have to be 20 feet from the rear. So I honestly don't,
Well, actually, you'd have to be 15 from the rear because you have two sides. That's considered a side setback, not a rear setback.
yeah, so by the time I push that 15 feet, I think it would probably be on top of the house. And I was looking to kind of keep it on the side of the house because then it keeps it away from the abutting neighbors and gives them some privacy in their yards. Because when it's on the side of the garage, that's a street there, so there's no neighbors there.
Are you planning on having an apron around the pool?
Yes.
And how wide is your apron?
I believe it's gonna be a couple feet all the way around.
Do you have that, is that considered on this plan, an apron?
It's just showing the pool itself, 10 by 16.
And where would you put your heating equipment?
That's a good
You had a
question.
pool contractor lay this out?
Yes.
You have a layout from the pool contractor?
No, I don't have that. No, it's just drawn on this. We had that done with the pool contractor. We're using Precision Pools. I believe, I'm not sure, but I would assume that would probably be over by the septic. I don't know, depending on where they could run the heating pipe and the electrical pipe.
Okay, that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Mantoni?
Well, you've already answered most of my questions. The pool is 10 by 16, that's what you,
Yes,
according to you?
yep.
And that's the only spot really feasible on the lot,
I believe it is. I just don't think it'll fit anywhere else.
yeah.
Because the septic system took up a lot of land in the back.
Yeah, that's,
Well, this is the scale, right?
Yeah, yep, that's,
It looks to me, I don't mean to interrupt you, John, but it looks to me like you could easily put that between the shed and the septic.
I'll move the shed.
Or move the shed.
then I'd have to move.
Hold on,
Yeah.
that was just an esoteric
Okay.
thing.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
We're going to go through the members first.
Sure.
Anything else, John?
no, that's it, thank you.
Dick, anything?
Yeah, I agree with some of the, it looks to me like there would be room in the backyard and, you know, if it was a very small amount of relief that was being looked at on the road setback, I'd be a lot more comfortable, but bringing it within 10 feet of the road, which is a front setback, and I know it's a corner, and I know that makes it difficult for the, and I'd love to be able to say yes to this, but I always worry about precedent-setting issues, and to go 10 feet from a road, especially for something that's, you know, not really necessary in some respects, and could probably be fit in the backyard, and I think meet all setbacks, actually. I have some issues with. I wish I didn't, but I do.
Well, you know, I agree wholeheartedly. I hate to see anything this close to a road. But I'm trying to do the takeoffs of this raised septic system, and it's indicating that it must be 20 feet from the raised septic system. And when I do 20 feet towards the shed, I get and this wall around the septic is existing, right?
Yes, it is.
So when I do 20 feet that way, I don't think it's going to fit. If it fits, it's going to be really tight.
What
Yeah.
has to be 20 feet away?
The pool has to be 20 feet away from the raised system. It's indicated right there, 20
Yeah,
feet
that's-
minimum.
That's what I'm saying. There's not a lot of space back there in the back when you look at the setbacks and being away from the septic system.
Would you consider putting your shed beside your garage over there? Or on where you want to put the pool? Move the shed over there, move the pool over in the back corner?
But then do I still have to be 30 feet from the front?
Well, your shed can always be moved. And your shed's not, I think your shed's gonna be smaller than your pool.
And our decision would allow you to move it there. You know,
So you're thinking if I move the shed, you think there's enough room for the pool in the backyard?
I think so, but that's between you and your pool contractor. What I know and don't quite understand is why the 30 feet that exists currently between the road layout and the corner of your home, 10 feet of it is being eaten up by a setback from the house. 10 feet in width for the pool, that's fine, that's a modest pool, and 10 feet to the street. Why is the 10 feet to the house necessary?
That's just where they drew it. I mean, I can move that if we can do it on the side, if that makes the board more comfortable.
I will just interject one thing. I've never seen a pool, I mean, I presume you're gonna wanna put like lounge chairs around it and things like that.
Correct.
You're really gonna need probably around an 8-foot apron.
Yeah, so you're probably looking about a
pool.
2-foot
I mean,
buffer.
So you're really talking about if you put it where it was and had an 8-foot apron, your apron's technically gonna be 2 feet off the road. You know, I think it's gonna be kinda tight over there.
Well, I know I can't support it, okay?
I
Yeah.
can support it in the back corner of the house.
Well, that's not what we're being asked for, though, and we don't have a plan in front of us that shows it's gonna fit in there.
What if we ask them to come back?
Well, that's fine. I can support it if it's over where the shed area, in the shed area. But I can't support it tonight, so if we're pushed to a vote, it's gonna be less than a unanimous vote. And if anybody else agrees that they can't support it where it is, speak up so that we can tell them the vote will fail.
I think Dick, myself, and you have a problem with it, so I think you don't.
Yeah, I have a problem with it. I think there's logical alternatives. I'd rather give relief, from the 15-foot sideline setbacks from the other sides if they need it, as opposed to 10 feet from the street.
And let me chime in and just say that if your contractor cannot locate it for some reason where we're suggesting, and we would give you permission to move the shed, okay? So you're not gonna lose your shed. But if you could not, then I would want to at least see him give us an alternative to this 10-foot setback, set out from the house. I mean, I just don't get it. I don't think it's necessary. I think you make your patio around it in a different configuration, that's all.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We could move the pool closer to the garage and eliminate that 10 feet that are there.
Sure, but let's try it in the back first, okay? And if you can't do it, I'd like to know why, okay?
Okay.
So you have an option here, all right? You can say, no, there, Chairman, I want to go forward with this vote tonight. And if we do, you lose. And then if you want to instead say, I'd like a continuance so we could, right away get back on your agenda, but with a newly configured location. We'll try to accommodate that.
Okay. I'd like for a continuance then, to propose a new plan.
Move that we allow the petitioner to continue this matter.
Yes.
Second.
You moved, I second. I'm sorry, do we have a second?
Yeah, a second.
So on that motion, so made and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm looking at your septic, just before you go. I'm looking at the distance between the septic and the side lot line. Over near where the shed is, and it looks like you've got at least, what is that, in excess of 50 feet. So,
July 13th, Mr. Chair, will be the next date.
So can I just ask one question? So the back fence line and the other side where there's a house, what would the setbacks be on them?
they're 15 feet, but I won't speak for the others, but if you needed relief going into those setbacks, I would certainly,
Because I
Be willing
definitely have to be
to allow
20
you to
feet from
do
the
that.
septic system.
yeah,
Okay.
I could
Okay.
go with that. So if we
Right.
could get it in that back corner.
And then
you could
moving the
move
fence.
shed over where
I mean,
the-
moving the shed, now, you're saying put it over by the garage.
Where you want, not there.
Just not there.
Okay, all right.
If you want to put it where the pool was going to go, then maybe we
Okay.
could stick it
I'll work
over
with
there.
my pool contractor and try to get a new drawing and.
How much
and-
time you think you'll need for that?
Well, I'd like to move as soon as possible, to be honest with you. We were hoping to start, the first week of,
We want to accommodate. When do you think you can get back?
I'd like to get back next week if I could do it, if I could
No,
get on the
we don't,
agenda.
we only meet every other week, so that's impossible.
I'd say if I could get on the next agenda, I'd be very happy with that.
The next hearing, Mr. Chair, is July 13th.
And what's on that, Nate? I don't need the specifics, but how many petitions are being heard?
Currently, there's 2.
All right, let's get them on.
How many do we have how many do we have on the next one? We have a lot of people on the next agenda?
So you're saying July now?
Yeah.
Do you want to put them on?
And as Sean said, I think if the petitioner works with their pool person and engineer, you may not need any relief at all. In looking at this pool, it's a small 10 by 16-foot pool. I think you're gonna find it fits with proper setbacks.
Yeah, but if he does, I don't think that would take very long. Do you think
You're
so?
very short here.
Yeah. Do
But
you
you'll
think
give
we
him the
could,
next meeting.
can we,
Put 5 on
yeah,
for next
we
time?
get 5 on this one.
All right. We'll just keep doing that.
Well, maybe not all of them. When is the next hearing date?
May 25th.
Yeah, the Celtics playing tonight?
Yes.
All right, then let's get going. When's the next meeting you can get on?
May 25th.
May
You want to do
25th?
next week? We can do
May
next week.
25th?
All right, what, 25? I'll have to attend by Zoom. I'm not going to be in the state then, okay? So would you send me an invitation for that as
sir.
quick as you could?
Would you
Thanks.
send me one
Would I
too,
drop
please?
off the new plans to you?
Yes.
Need you to sign this first, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, we really want to help you get it, okay? We're not trying to be obstructionists.
Yes,
We're
you
gonna
would.
come over for the Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's... Big pool party, everybody's doing fun things to... Oh, no, we can't do that. We can't do that. All right, thank you very much. Good to see you both. All right, brings us to our next petition, that is Joanna Murray with property located at 45 Rainbow Road in West Yarmouth. That property is in a zoning district R25, and our applicant seeks a special permit or in the alternative, a variance under the bylaw provisions allowing for that. The side setback relief to pre-existing non-conforming structure to add 2 closets. Are you Joanna?
Yes, I am.
Joanna, you tell us all about your petition if you...
All right. I am Joanna Murray. I live at 45 Rainbow Road in West Yarmouth. And I have just recently moved here full-time. It was previously more of a summer home. So I'm just looking to add a little bit of storage so that I can use it as a full-time residence, more, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but a little bit more usable for me.
What are you adding, 6 feet? Is that your intention?
Yes.
The
it's a
existing-
6 feet to the front-facing side of the house. It will be 2 feet over the setbacks. So I'm looking to build about 100 square feet, 2 feet over the setbacks. I'm already, I don't know if it's grandfathered in. It's already much smaller than that on the other side of the house. Not going up any higher, the roof line will stay. It's just going to be a continuation of the existing roof line. That's
Okay.
it.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, any questions of the petitioner?
So the closet addition is going over where the bulkhead is now?
Not where the bulkhead is, well, the bulkhead to the basement is in the back of the
Yeah,
house?
to the,
Yeah.
to the basement. It looks like it's the proposed addition and it shows, or is it a step there? Maybe that's a step.
It's a step, yeah,
a
so
step.
where
Okay, all
where
right.
the step currently is would be the new
That's
closet.
changing, yeah.
Correct.
Okay, I mean, you're only looking for 2 feet from what's required. It's a fairly small lot. I can understand your need for some more space. The other side's already non-conforming down to 6.5 feet.
Right,
So we're only looking at 2 feet off the
that?
15 feet, so I think it's a pretty minimal request.
sorry,
Yep. Go ahead.
it's not my phone.
I'm sorry, Mr. Martin,
It
go
was,
ahead.
it's somebody behind me.
Okay. Ms. Mantoni?
Yeah, I don't have any problem. This is very minimal. I don't have any issues with this at all. I don't have any questions.
Okay, great,
Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Igo?
No questions, just a comment. I would echo what Dick said. It's a very reasonable request, certainly meets the criteria of the bylaw. I plan on supporting it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Frapery?
I don't have any questions, just a comment. I mean, the laundry closet, it doesn't do anything, so that's not even an issue. And it is only 2 feet additional, so I think it's a reasonable request and also would support it.
Have you contacted your abutting neighbor that's going to be affected by this?
I have,
Are they here this evening?
they are not.
Did they express to you any opposition?
No, they did not.
And where is their house located to this?
They are, if you're facing my house, they're on the right-hand side.
Oh, I understand, but how close?
They have a fence in between, so the fence is currently 20 feet. I'm looking to have it be 13. And then they have about, I think they're non-conforming as well. It looks like it's a little bit less than 15 feet between the fence and their house, maybe about 12 or 13.
Well, these are very modest lots, and it's very hard to do anything on them that wasn't original. It's all non-conforming because they were built before the zoning board, the zoning laws came into this town. And so, you couldn't build this house today, but you sure want to make a better use of it, and we get that. So if I understand it, these will be closets.
Correct.
You're not looking to expand that master bedroom there, are you?
No, so the master bedroom, the existing structure that's right there is the master bathroom. So then it would just be a closet beyond the master bathroom.
All right, good, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Does anyone in our audience care to speak in favor of this petition? If so, come to our microphone, please. Does anyone care to speak in opposition to the petition? If so, please come to the microphone. Seeing none, we now close it to the public input on the petition. We open it up to board discussion deliberation. Anybody prepared to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the petition as presented, no conditions.
Okay, is there?
I'll second it.
Mr. Martin, say second.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody want to have any discussion on the motion made to allow the petition as presented and without a condition? Hearing none, I'd just like to say on the record that I think that a special permit is how we usually deal with these things. And I think you meet the criteria of our special permit in the zoning bylaws, which is that there'll be no undue hazard, nuisance, or congestion created by the grant of this special permit. And that it will not substantially adversely affect the neighborhood or town, either now or in the future. We have to make those findings for a record, okay? And so, I agree, whoever said the word de minimis, I agree with you wholeheartedly, it's nice. It's nice, it'll be a nice addition. So with that, if anybody, unless somebody else wants to say something? Mr. Martin?
Aye.
Mantoni?
Aye.
Mr. Igo?
Aye.
Mr. Frapery?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so that carries unanimously. A decision will be drafted. That decision will be filed with the town clerk's office. Don't go building anything until the decision is final and recorded, okay?
Great, thank you so much.
So wait a minute, it will be recorded, filed at the town clerk's office. 20 days must elapse before you can consider it a granted special permit.
Okay.
And we usually require people because you've asked for relief in the alternative, to ask us to withdraw that variance without prejudice. You asked for it to be a variance, and we don't think it's a variance, so.
Okay,
Would that be agreeable with you if we allowed that to be withdrawn without prejudice?
yes.
Anybody wish to move? All right, Mr. Igo moves.
Second.
Mr. Martin seconds. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be creating drama here.
Oh, it's all good.
All right. Now, you have a wonderful night, please.
Thank you, you too. I appreciate it.
Just vote on the variance removal. We didn't
Oh,
vote.
I'm sorry. Yeah, come back here. There was, I'm sorry, I really want to see that basketball game. So, Mr. Igo made a motion to allow the withdrawal of the variance request without prejudice, which was seconded by Mr. Martin. I don't think it needs a roll call. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Now you can leave.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I think we're going to have some comment from the audience on the next one, because all of you aren't here just to see how we're doing tonight. You're obviously here for something. So let's get right to it. It's petition 5019, Maria Curtis, doing business as Lightning Speed go-karts on concerning property located at 228, Route 28, West Yarmouth, Mass. That property's in a B2 zoning district. Our applicant seeks a special permit pursuant to 301.2 from buffer trees requirement to install a seasonal go-kart racetrack. And by that, am I understanding that the only relief that's being sought is concerning the buffer? Is that right?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Brian Yurgation. I'm representing the applicant, Maria Curtis, who's seated here with me. I'm a professional engineer from BSC Group. Actually, sir, I think that we are also looking to allow an N11 use, which is other miscellaneous amusement, in addition to the buffer relief.
All right. Go ahead. Feel free to go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Yes, so let me just tell you briefly about the project. It is proposed to be an outdoor go-kart racing facility. It is temporary in nature, and it is a proposed seasonal use. So the proposal is essentially that the applicant would have this operational roughly between April and October, approximately 9 months a year. It would be taken down during the off-season and then put back up again the following year. The owner is only really allowing this for a 2 to 3 year period. So we are here seeking that relief on a temporary basis for a maximum duration of 3 years. And the use itself, as I said, would be about 9 months a year during the obvious tourist season. Right now, the site, as you know, it was way back when, I think it was the Rooster Restaurant. It was the China Super Buffet or Super Buffet. And right now, it's an existing parking lot. And the proposal is that all of these, nothing is going to actually penetrate the ground. Everything that we're proposing is temporary, including in removable, including even the trees, which would be in big plots. And if, on your site plan, there's an example of something like that. The only exception to that would be we are proposing 2 light poles within the center of the track. And those would have a substantial footing, but at the end, when this is all removed, that pavement would be restored back just in those 2 footprints where those lights would be. So there's essentially there's no permanent site work that's proposed. The existing site, the pavement goes up to about 10 feet from the property line. There are some trees on both the eastern and western sides of the property. The northern side has a substantial natural buffer that exists. And in addition to that, the applicant is proposing several street trees as well.
How are we going to get that on TV? Do we have an easel?
Yeah, it's one right in the back there.
Yeah, right behind
Oh,
it.
good, good. Yeah, see, people at home are very interested in this. They've foregone the basketball game just so they can hear about this petition. So we want to make sure they can see whatever we're seeing, all right? And if you're going to talk over there, you need to bring the microphone with you. Yeah, it should pop right out. But
There we go. Just didn't want to break anything.
Yeah.
So again, just to kind of recap, there is an existing about a 10-foot wide buffer. It is vegetated for a portion of it. The northern portion of the property, which is mostly all within a 100-foot buffer zone to the adjacent wetland resource area off-site, so that has a nice natural buffer. There are some trees located along the western boundary, but again, it's all existing pavement. These parking spaces which we're proposing are all on existing paved area.
The parking, the proposed parking area is actually, it's dirt with a bunch of scrub brush right now.
Oh, yeah.
The track is the existing pavement. The parking would be like a T-base or a reclaimed asphalt parking area. And then the front where the former Tasty Buffet building was, the cement pad, that is staying as existing.
Thank you. Sorry for that
No problem.
miscommunication.
That's why two of you were there, right? Anything else you wanted to present?
I really don't. We'd be happy. I'm sure you have questions, so
Right.
we'll let you lead it.
And I think some comments that we're going to hear from too. Mr. Martin, any questions of our petitioner?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned that it's been advertised as just looking for the buffer tree, not having to have the buffer tree requirements. The BSC group has the notation, and I would agree with that, that they're also looking for the special permit under section N11 as well, and that was not advertised as such, so is that an issue? So in other words, we're looking for more than what was advertised, because they need relief under N11 as well, obviously.
Before us this evening, two requested parts of relief, and that is apparently the change designation to an N11, and that there be, in a use designation rather, and that there be a waiver or relief from the buffer requirement. That's it, right? So,
I think he's talking about the legal advertisement.
oh, because the use wasn't there apparently. Is it even asked for within the petition?
I didn't see it on the petition asking for the relief.
So I have a,
Well, it is,
May I, Mr. Chairman?
It's not the legal advertisement.
I don't know how, but it's certainly on our application.
not to this board.
Where,
Where? I'm looking at a petition 4/9/1923, signed by Maria Curtis. Okay? Where is there something that's requesting a change in use? Oh, there it is. And for use, there it is, yeah. For use schedule, regulation scheduled 202.5 to an N11. Okay. Yeah, I surprised, I guess I've never read it close enough. I always thought you had to ask for it separately, like you heard us do earlier tonight.
And it's in the letter.
So was that added? Am I missing something here?
It's also in the cover letter.
the application, but may not be.
I see it in the cover letter.
I got this. You got this? Yeah. Okay, this is what we gotta look at first.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't mention the change in the use table.
301.2. Well,
I mean, if, I'm comfortable, if the board is comfortable, that we're covered in terms of proper notification.
Well, it is in a B2 zoning district, so I'm not sure that it's much of an issue, but in any event, I'm comfortable that we can go forward this evening unless somebody has an objection. If they don't, let's move it along.
All right, then I'd have a few other questions.
So
The,
does anybody, Mr. Martin, do you have any other questions of our petitioner?
Yeah, so the, let's call it the office or whatever, is just a temporary tent in the front?
The tent in the front of the plan, the tent is where the go-karts would be parked. That's the onloading and offloading area.
Do we have any diagrams of that?
I believe it's on your diagram.
It's on the site plan. I don't know if you were looking for a specific detail.
I don't see it. I mean, I see the location, but I don't see anything that would show what it looks like. Oh, I guess it is, yeah, I guess that almost looks like it's pavement there. So it's just this big white tent, in other words.
Correct.
Okay. Any reason why we need temporary plantings in the front in buckets? I mean, I understand that you're only there, this would only be for 3 or 4 years, but those buffer trees would be required for any use of that site, for any kind of future use of the other landowner, and so why not get the trees in there and planted now, other than stick them in buckets?
Sure. So the reason for that is because the owner has other plans for future development on site. And so as part of their agreement with the applicant, we're not allowing any change or alterations to the ground surface, with the one exception of the 2 light poles that I mentioned earlier, because when those are removed at the end of the duration of their agreement, of their contract, those will be restored and the pavement would be patched.
All right, and I understand, there's also a couple residential abutters that would be directly across the street, 1 or 2 residential abutters on Cozy Home Terrace, and well, a little bit further through the woods in the back, a whole bunch of abutters in Buck Island Village condominium. Needless to say, they're worried about noise. I'm worried about noise too. Do we have any kind of specific information about decibels and what the noise level would be?
Sure.
Some of these other properties that have these, they're strictly in areas where there aren't residential abutters nearby, in most cases anyways. And I would be concerned about that. I'm sure the neighbors are as well.
Good question. Go ahead, Maria.
We have visited several tracks. We've stood there with a decibel meter, registering the tracks indoor and outdoor. We recently visited an indoor track in Delaware. I registered the decibels on both 16 carts running on the track, 12 carts running on the track. And again, this is an indoor facility. The decibel level ran around 72, 73, 74 with that many carts on the track. And in comparison to that, I can tell you in this room right now with the microphone, I'm running in the mid 60s. Right now, my voice is running high 70s, low 80s on a decibel level. Our carts are maintained with they're modified mufflers for indoor racing. They're like a lawnmower engine, but with a catalytic converter and a muffler on them. And so like that, 16 carts on an indoor track. It doesn't go over 80 decibels. And I have printouts I can give to the board. I can't get one to you, but I can give them to the board if they wish. And like that, watching my decibel meter right now, my talking on the microphone is running 76, 77, 80, 82 decibels.
All right, and the existing sign that you intend to use, does that meet our zoning requirements now in terms of size?
There is an existing sign there. What we would do is change it from the red Tasty Buffet sign to a white Lightning Speed Carts, which I believe is indicated on your plan. I spoke with Mr. Grills at the building department, and I would be required for a sign permit for that.
It meets the size requirements presently in place?
Dick, I'm not sure if it does, to be honest, but as she mentioned, we are going to be filing for a permit for that, so I will absolutely, take a look at that, and we're going to make sure that it conforms.
Because you may need relief for that too, yeah.
Understood.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I have for now.
Thank you. Mr. Mantoni?
So how many carts are you planning on operating? 16 or no?
No, that was the facility that we visited in Delaware. Our carts at the time, our plan is 8, maybe a maximum of 10, but probably about 8 carts at a time on the track. The more carts we allowed on the track, then the more, so to say, bumping there would be, and that's just gonna damage our carts. We don't wanna do that, so we're looking to limit it between 8 and 10, and I believe that's what Bass River Sports World does as well.
Now, I may have missed this, but the buffer you're looking relief from is in the rear or on the side or both?
It would be not the rear. The rear is the only buffer that really complies, to be honest, so I would say all the others.
Okay. I mean, and so you would leave that buffer next to Giardino's the same, all those arborvitae's there?
Correct. Those are not going to be, nothing's on site's going to be
Yeah,
touched
they're
as far as that.
not much of a buffer.
The plan is to probably, so to say, scrape that side to get rid of all the garbage and get rid of the dead stuff, but any living trees, any trees are going to remain. It's just, there's a lot of trash and that stuff that would be cleaned up.
No, I'm all set, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Igo.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, so you're gonna run 8 or 10 carts at a time. How many carts are you gonna have on site at a time?
Maybe about 30. We have a storage trailer, and that way if something happens, we can trade them out. But it wouldn't be, they wouldn't be running all at the same time.
Where are you gonna store those?
We have a 44-foot car trailer, enclosed car trailer, and we have a 24-foot enclosed car trailer.
Are you seeking relief for the parking of those on the site?
No, they are both properly registered motor vehicles. I spoke with Mr. Grills about it, and because they're registered, they're insured, they're motor vehicles, then I could put them on the site. And one of them, actually, they are indicated on the plan, on the back of the plan, to park the trailers along the back edge of the track, which would also be a buffer for, the noise is, with the decibel meter, the noise should never reach the condo
Are they like
behind
Sports
us.
Worlds, are they like the ones down at, Skull Island? Have you seen those down there in South Yarmouth?
carts?
Yeah.
We have some like that, and we have some that are a little bit different from that. I can give you pictures if you'd like.
If you're familiar with the former facility in Braintree, Mass, that's where a lot of these carts, I don't know if all of them were purchased from. It's
I'm
an
actually
indoor
not,
facility.
familiar with that. How fast do these go-karts go?
Our insurance requirement, it'll be approximately 19 miles an hour. 19 to 21 miles an hour is what is allowed by insurance.
So how fast do these go that you have? Do they go that fast?
Yes, they should.
That's pretty fast.
Are there governors on them?
Yes.
I see that you have a couple of picnic tables set up here in the front left corner of the track. It says proposed picnic table waiting area.
Yes.
Okay. Where do people pay to get on these carts?
There will be we have a travel trailer, a small 6x12 travel trailer, which will be the ticket booth. So it's mobile, and it can be removed from the property.
Yeah, but I mean, when I pull in here, I see a driveway, I see a parking area, I get out and I got 6 kids with me. Where are they gonna walk to?
That proposed temporary tent, it'll be right next to that tent.
So up here,
Correct.
up here in the front?
Right next to the handicap parking. The handicap parking is at the proposed gate. It says gate on it. That would be your entry gate, your admissions.
On the western side of the proposed tent.
Okay, and where are all the mothers and fathers gonna hang around when they're waiting? And when cars
That's-
are coming in and out of this driveway?
There is he has proposed bleachers on here, but that marked area that runs along the left side of the track, we're going to have concrete, they're called wall blocks. They have wall blocks and they have like a little ledge to the side of them. And that's going to line that to provide for a safe walking area down that side of the
But
track.
people can't walk down there. I mean, you got people that are on the driveway, I see that. You got these blocks that run down there so the cars can't go out into the parking lot. But my question is, I anticipate a lot of people coming in and out of here, and I want to know where 50 people on site are going to stand while their kids are out on these go-karts.
Along those wall blocks, there's going to be a 4-foot chain link fence on that.
Personally, I find that unsafe,
What?
your proposal. I don't think you've figured it out with the public. I think you figured everything out, but where people are going to hang out.
No, there's a 4-foot chain link fence to cordon off the go-kart track. And then there's going to be approximately a 4-foot walkway that will now be lined with concrete barriers.
So
So
this-
you have a 4-foot walkway as well as concrete barriers
You
to sit
showing that
on.
on your plan?
Correct. So,
I see that, yeah.
and these are Jersey barriers, that dash line that goes around the track. So there's no way a go-kart and a person
Okay,
could collide.
okay.
And as well, that walkway is lined, and then there is some bleachers there as well as some picnic tables. So given how many cars would be running at the same time, I feel that it's an appropriate number of, waiting.
Well,
capacity
What I
area.
see is, if you're gonna have 8 to 10 go-karts running, and I'm only using my experience as someone who, when I was young, we wanted to go to the go-karts. And I can tell you, you can get down to Harwichport and look at them in the middle of July, that place is packed. So I don't really have a problem with the way the operation of the track is. I have a problem with a bunch of cars coming in and out of here and people hanging around the middle of the driveway and no place to sit.
No, they should be,
Your payment operation here, I'm not quite sure that I'm convinced how that's gonna work. I see you're walking them down to a temporary fence. I'm not even sure how you get onto the go-karts. Do you have a gate here somewhere?
yep,
to
it
get
says
on them?
proposed gate right on your, it should say proposed gate right on your plan.
So when you
Going
walk
into that
through this
tent.
gate, whether you got this arrow right here,
Yep,
where it says proposed gate, okay, I walk through there, where do I go from there?
the loading and unloading is under that tent.
Didn't you tell us before you were gonna keep the go-karts inside this tent?
Right, that's where the go-karts are that you load and unload from.
Yeah. Okay. And when you come in, I'm all done with my ride, and I come in here and I stop. Where am I stopping? Where's the kid getting out, and where's the exit for him to get out and for the new people to get on?
Under the tent.
Well,
Like, are you familiar with Bass River Sports World?
well,
How they have their wooden shed? The carts park in that wooden shed. You enter the carts, you get out of the carts in that shed. You line up in that shed.
have you run one of these businesses before?
A go-kart track? No.
Okay,
I've visited several of them, many of them.
okay.
So there is a concrete wall dividing the cars. There's a concrete wall, and there's a 4-foot walkway between the concrete wall and the chain link fence for all your people, your spectators, your walkway, to allow that safety area.
So you get
So
cars-
is that pathway the hash marks there?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
That's the 4-foot pathway?
Right here, this is, that's where everybody's gonna hang out on that, and then they're gonna come in here, and we're gonna have loading and unloading.
Gotcha.
Paying customers lined up here, kids getting on, going out here, and then when they come in here, this is supposed to work going out, coming in. I don't know, I must say, I'm a little concerned with the way I see what the proposed flow is here. I don't think there's enough room there. I think that needs to be reworked.
But I guess my question, sir, is how does that relate to the buffer issue? I mean, that seems to me,
No, you're here for the N11 use issue.
okay,
That's what I have.
okay.
The buffer isn't, that's.
Yeah, any
planters.
relief you want.
Yeah.
Any relief you want, at least open it up to discussion.
Those are my concerns right now, but we can come back and talk about those. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Frapery?
I have a few. I am concerned about the noise level, but what are the planned hours of operation?
During the summer, we would propose 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. During the winter, it would be school hours, maybe 3 p.m. to 8 p.m.
You define summer and winter for me.
Summer would be mid-June to mid-September.
The mid what?
September,
And that was 10 to 10?
10 to 10. Same as the inflatable park, same as Bass River Sports World.
And what was the other, you said winter hour?
Winter hours, like when the kids go back to school and such, it would be after school hours from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Probably earlier as it gets darker.
And that goes through October and from April 1st, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Then I guess, you're not planning to repave what's there today? You're gonna use that current asphalt as is,
We're going to repave the asphalt that's there.
where the track is?
We're going to, I guess you would call it top coat it. Not a full pavement, but like a top coat to make it smooth.
I wouldn't wanna ride, when I went down there, I wouldn't wanna ride on that current pavement.
Now, there's a few dips and stuff, but no, we have someone, I have a contractor that will top coat it for me so it would be smooth and level.
And the same with that parking area, because that's definitely not something you could park in today. You're gonna
No,
put
it's
that- you're gonna
remove the
redo whole-
scrub and then put like a reclaimed asphalt T-base on it, like I like that better than stone or shell.
It's
It's the-
permeable and?
Yes, yep.
Did these carts come from the F1 facility in Braintree? Is that the one you're talking about?
Some of them did, yes.
Oh, I've been there twice, so
So you know my cards.
crash anything, so that was a good thing. Let's see. I still am concerned about the noise possibilities. There's a restaurant that's gonna be right there. I'm not sure how much they're gonna hear. I know that it's very close, and there's people, I mean, there's residential's not that far away, and there's also a motel right next door. 10 o'clock at night, I can't imagine that that's gonna be very comfortable for some of those locations, so I have some concerns about the hours, but.
I did stop in. I introduced myself to, I don't know off the top of my head which one. I introduced myself to one of the Giardino brothers. I introduced him, myself, I showed him the plan, I explained what I was doing, gave him all my contact information, and he said, I think it's a good idea, sounds good. I said, if you have any questions or anything, please ask me. I'm more than willing to work with neighbors. If there's an issue with the hours, I can move the hours earlier. If there's any issues, I'm going into this trying to be the good neighbor. Our goal is to give people something to do. If you look at most of the community right now, we are a tourist destination. They open up in June, they all close in September. The locals have nothing to do. We're almost punished. It's summer comes and everything is so busy and so packed, and we're all working to cater to the tourists. But then come Labor Day, everybody closes. I don't want to do that. I want to give the locals something to do. I want to give the kids a reason to be outside. It's a family event. It's something that the families are going to come and do together, not drop your kids off for the day or something. It's like that. I want something more to do, take people outside, give them something to do as a family.
Okay, and these trees that you're talking about putting in planters, they're 2 inches around. How tall will they be?
They're regular size arborvitaes. I believe there's a,
Arborvitaes, okay. So not as in the picture that you provided?
sorry, no, I think that was borrowed. But we
Example
can,
of the planter to be used.
Okay.
Yeah, we can put arborvitaes in
Yeah.
a cement planter.
Where? Oh, in these planters?
Yeah, where all the planters are. I was told I needed one tree for every 8 parking spots. So those are the,
They'll be scattered around the parking area as well across the front?
correct.
Okay, and they're all arborvitaes? That's what it, okay, that's all my questions. Thank you.
Well, a comment I want to make is, we all live here, so we're all familiar with what happened in Labor Day. And secondly, the noise level down at the inflatable park has no comparison. There aren't any engines running down there. There are engines running here. But personally, I'm not understanding it. I see these track barriers. What are they made out of?
Plastic. They're the same barriers that were at Bass River Sports World. Actually, Bass River Sports World gave them to us. These are them. And so what happens is we can set them up. Many of them are actually still filled with Bass River Sports World golf balls, so they're extremely heavy. And so we can change the shape. As you see on the track right now, it's just basically an oval. If we want to put a couple more curves or something in, they're all movable. They're just plastic. They can be filled with water, filled with sand, or in this instance, golf balls.
Okay. So if you had a problem with your entry onto the track or exit from the track, that could be adjusted by moving these? All right, and again, you're looking, let's say we granted relief here, and we granted it, you'd only want it for 3 years, right?
Right now, my agreement with the landlord is 3 years, and that's why we're basing it on a temporary basis and trying to make everything as removable as possible. Even the electrician that I have spoken with and gave me the plan for the telephone poles, he will actually remove the telephone poles and buy them back from me.
That's wonderful. You've certainly got a lot of support. That's wonderful to hear. What will be the nighttime lighting there?
It is, what are they
The
called?
proposed fixtures will meet the dark sky. They are fully shielded.
They're
What's
called.
their height?
They would be, I think we have a question that the poles proposed by the electric company are 30-foot poles, but for stability, they need to go in the ground at least 6 feet. So the pole, exposed pole would be approximately 22 to 24 feet. They are LED floodlights with adjustable mounts, and they can come with what's called shields on them. But he met me there. He is under the understanding of my goal is to light the track. I'm not there to light up the neighbors. I'm not, electric is expensive enough. I'm lighting my track and
We're not
that's
here for
it.
relief, and that, the building commissioner will decide whether or not you need relief once a lighting plan is presented to them. We're not here to discuss it, I'm just asking in curiosity. Because, I mean, I fully agree that there has been one of these tracks on Route 28, which I thought would be a horrible thing, because I live not far from it, on Willow Street. And I gotta tell you, I never hear them. I never hear anything from Pirates World over there, and it's wonderful in that sense. It's nice to see places for our kids to have fun. We all endorse that, as we wholeheartedly did in the inflation park. And we're all cognizant that these things in a B1 or B2 zoning district back up to residential property, and we still, from time to time, will act and approve these sort of facilities. The horsepower on these carts, what is it?
Some of the carts are 50 cc, some of them are 70, and then the next one is, I'm sorry. 6.5 horsepower.
They must go right along.
Well, you know, I was talking to Sean about this go-kart driving that, we both grew up down here, and the go-kart driving we used to do in the summertime down in Harwich. And one of the most fun things to do would be try to crash into your buddy. And, you know, you'd get out there and drive them just as fast as you could. Well, you know, you're stupid when you're 13, okay? But, so we would do that. I wouldn't do it at 69, but I'd do it back when I was 13. And these barriers just concerned me. They were the same barriers as down at the Pirate.
Sports World.
Yeah.
I think that's why, like that, we have the motors have governors on them that will limit their speed. We are limited by our insurance policy.
You said that, yeah.
And then we also have a system, it's a computer system, that with remotes, that we are able to immediately shut down carts. We have a safety system in place that with our remote, we hit a button and every single cart shuts down. So we have that control over the carts, whether we want to shut down one or we want to shut down them all. And it's like a computer keyboard. All of the carts are numbered. They all have a transponder in the cart. And if we have to shut somebody down, whether it be one cart or again, the whole cart, we hit one button and everybody stops. And again, that's why our goal is to limit them to 8 to 10 carts. We don't want 20 carts out there. It's not bumper cars.
I don't think we're gonna allow 20 carts out there, if in fact.
I don't want
give
20
you any
carts.
relief, so.
No, like that.
Sign, is that the same sign as the old buffet?
Yes.
No increase in sign size?
Nope, we just want to redo the plexiglass with our logo instead of the Tasty Buffet.
Well, anything is an improvement over what was there, that's for sure. I mean, I don't know, I'm gonna kind of hold back on comments, but tell me again, the parking material will be, the parking lot, where you're removing the asphalt, what will be the parking material?
We're not removing any asphalt. The asphalt that's there will be recoated, and that will be the track area. The parking area to the back left, right now is scrub. It's sand and like scrub
Oh, okay.
bushes.
I
So
thought the
that will be
pavement
cleaned
went-
out. No, there's no pavement there, and we're not going to pave it. Just, again, that reclaimed asphalt or the T-base,
A
however they
T-base,
call
something
it.
like a T-base product, okay.
Can I ask you, who came up with 32 parking spaces?
That was just between us and the engineer.
Well, when you say the engineer, you mean he just decided you put 32 spaces in? You think 32 spaces is
I don't know how we
sufficient?
came up with 32.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't remember the origins of how it developed.
You think that's enough spaces?
I do based on the number of carts, yes.
Well, see, you keep saying the number of carts. I see people driving up and down Route 28 with a carload of kids, and they go to the beach and go, that's where we're going tonight, and you've got 60 cars pulling in there at one time at 7 PM at night. How are you gonna accommodate them?
I mean, yeah, we can't, but I mean, 60 cars could pull into any property at.
Well, we're not
at that
talking about
time.
any property, we're
I
talking
know,
about your
well, I mean,
property.
yeah, I don't have a plan either to deal
Yeah.
with that.
I can add more spots if that's a request, then I
I-
can add more spots.
I think you've got a deficient amount of spots.
Okay,
I think you've got a problem with your driveway going in and out. I think you got a problem with crosswalks. I think you got a real problem with pedestrian traffic on the site. And I think you have a problem with paying people and loading and unloading. And you've told me that you've never been in this business before.
I haven't run it, but I have visited
Well,
several of them.
I appreciate that. And when I hear they can go in excess of 20 miles an hour, that's not a very big track out there. I mean, if you're only gonna limit it to 10, I suppose you can't get in too much trouble, because there is room, and I know you're gonna watch them. And what are the age groups of the people that are gonna be able to go on these?
They have to ride by themselves, they have to be 48 inches or taller. And then we have 4 carts that 48 inches and under can ride with an adult.
What's the maximum weight someone can get on one of these?
I don't know that they have a weight limit. It's if. There you go.
Oh, okay, so you potentially have adults out there with little kids running around.
I don't under.
I don't know, wait a minute, we can't do this. You wanna talk, you gotta do it in a
no, 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 no,
microphone.
Please.
I'm the owner.
Well, that's fine, but if you wanna talk, you gotta do it in a microphone.
Yeah, okay. The
Who are
eight
you?
year, I'm Louis Ramarza. In this picture here, the yellow and blue carts,
If you give me that, I'm gonna keep it.
You
you
can
go.
keep it.
Okay, we're gonna mark this, go back to the table, go back to the table, please.
Louis, if they each want one, there you go.
I'll pass it up and down.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll call it Exhibit 1. Hate to give you this formality, but we're gonna do
Okay.
that.
yellow and blue carts are for kids 8 to 14. 15 and over drive the red carts.
John, you'll have to ask another question.
And the yellow and blue carts do not go out with the red carts.
Just,
So how many,
Can we do it, can we do it in an order? Are you done?
Yes.
Just explaining.
Okay. Any other photos or anything you wanna give us?
I have photos of the plants, I have photos of the lights, and I have photos of the tent. It's, if you
I
would
don't
like
need them,
some.
I'm just wondering if you wanna offer them.
Okay, I'm fine.
so could I just ask one question, and then I'll just defer to you, Jay? If You said you had some questions. So the red carts don't go out with the yellow carts. So if you've got 4 yellow carts or out, no red carts can go out while they're out?
We can limit it. We can limit to,
That's what he just said.
I have 13 of the yellow and blue carts, and I have 12 carts of the red carts.
Okay. No, I understand, but you just said that the yellows and the.
Yeah, the yellows and blues are the same. They can go out together.
And the reds won't go out at the same
The
time.
reds will not go out at the same time.
Okay.
That's why you're talking about your weight difference. I wouldn't put a 300-pound guy, 200-pound guy out with a 70-pound kid. I've been racing NASCAR for 15 years. I know a lot of safety laws.
Okay, no, that's fine.
So she's talking about she hasn't ran a track. I've been building race cars for 15 years. I know the safeties of them in and out.
Okay, all right.
I've been to over 100 racetracks
We got
for
the-
go-karts.
I got it. Okay.
Just one more question, if I could. I believe at the F1 facility they had in Braintree, there was a changing room, and there was, I think, helmets and outfits that you had to get into first before you could get in. Is that gonna be necessary here also?
We are not doing the outfits. We are going to mandate helmets, which we will provide, and the carts are actually being altered now to add roll bars.
Okay, so you don't have to have a changing facility or anything like that, because I know that was unique to the F1.
No,
Facility.
we will be the only one with helmets. Skull Island, Buds, and Cartwheels and Dennis don't require helmets.
Okay.
We're going to require helmets, and like that, we have added roll bars, and every cart will have a seatbelt.
All right, let's move it along now. We have correspondence from a number of people. So if you are here, you need to tell me, do you want me to read your letter or do you want to speak? Sarah Gagne Campbell. Gagnier Campbell. Are you here? All right, we'll read that. Melissa Barad, are you here? We'll read this. Marie Seifert, are you here?
She's on Zoom, Mr. Chair.
What?
She's on the Zoom.
Ask her, please, could you please invite her in for just a moment? And what I'm going to do, ma'am, as you're coming in is, I'm either going to read your letter or I'm going to allow you to talk for a short period of time. Okay? We're not going to say 20 of the exact same things. So would you rather I read your letter or do you want to talk?
She has not raised her hand, but
What?
she has not raised her hand, Mr. Chair.
Okay, then I'll
Now
just,
she has. Okay. Tech will let her in.
She's against, by the way.
Janet Morse. Okay, is she in the audience? The internet audience?
No, sir.
Jean Milley. Hope I've said that right. I apologize to anybody whose name I say wrong. Is she in our audience? The internet audience? Okay. Laura Doherty? You're here? Which would you prefer, to speak or to have your letter written? Okay.
Wants to speak.
Okay, then I'm not going to read your letter. Donna Bishop. Let's see, Donna, is she in our audience? Okay. Dolores, no, that's you, Dolores. Robert Corr, are you here? Okay, well, these are going to get summarized, I'm afraid, because there's a host of them. Marilyn Lucht, Lucht. Are you here?
Marilyn has raised her hand. She's on Zoom.
What? So, all right, would you invite her in, please? And let's see whether she'd have this letter read or talk, one or the other.
I'm happy to have my letter read.
She wants her letter read.
All right, that's fine. John Davis, you here? Is he in the audience? No. Tina Pay. Marilyn Manter. Which would you prefer, your letter read or you speaking?
I'd be happy to read my letter.
Good. I think we're gonna have to, I would suggest, Mr. Chairman, that you just.
We're gonna summarize them, yeah.
Summarize, because it appears that there's about 40 letters, and they're all in opposition for the same reason.
I got it.
Yeah.
Laura Hoey. Are you here? Kent Carlson. Are you here? Which would you prefer?
I would like to make some comments and my letter.
No, you see the number of people out there? We're volunteers here. We're going home at some point.
You can summarize, because it's a lot of the same stuff.
Read the letter.
I would like to make comments.
Then I won't read the letter. Ann Moynihan. Are you here? Cheryl Ryan. I couldn't hear. Was somebody responsive for that? No? Okay. Fred Stepanis. Are you here? Anne Marie Sanford. Are you here? Nope. Jennifer Boyle. Are you here? Ralph Decker, are you here? What? No, okay. So, every board member here has had a packet of information concerning this petition, which includes every letter here. And I think a quick summarization would be, every person that has written a letter here is in opposition to this petition. So may I have a show of hands of who is in favor of this petition? May I have a show of hands of, oh, I know you are, in opposition to this petition? All right, pretty much even. All right, I'm going to ask you to keep in mind that we're going to not hear repetitive comments, okay? We're not going to go through 20 different people telling us the exact same thing. These letters spell it out pretty quickly. Well, actually, there's a couple in support.
The first one's in support.
Yeah. So I'm going to just read that in real quick, because there's only 2 lines. This is from Sarah Gagnia Campbell. I have no problem with a go-kart. There are not a lot of options for teens on Cape Cod. I think it's a good idea to keep them occupied. And she is Patricia. It's from Sarah, but she is Patricia Gagnia. So on the rest of them, in some fashion or another, they all say the very things that I think the people that are going to speak in opposition are going to say here, essentially, which is, I don't want it next to me, I don't want to hear the noise, and that there's vehement opposition to it. So there is nothing different about any of them. They all say the same things. Are you a professional allowed to act as an expert in the determination of sound levels?
No.
Okay. Because some of these are telling me sound levels of something they haven't even heard yet.
Mr. Chairman, just maybe for information, the town has someone who comes and measures decibels. If you're over at the Cove, for instance, I hear people say, because it appears that the majority of the people that are up and opposed to this live at Buck Island Village. At least that's where all the letters I see it from. So they're claiming that there's excessive noise from the Cove, they can hear the music. Well, under our bylaw, you're allowed to have so much noise until 11 p.m. at night. If it goes after 11 p.m. at night, you can call the police, they can run over there, they take a noise meter out. If it exceeds the noise level, then they're either told to shut it down or they get issued a citation. That's the same way it would work here. Excuse me, sir? You don't need to pick up the microphone again.
Why
So,
don't you pull up a chair and sit next to them?
have a seat. So, I mean, in terms of the noise, I mean, if everybody's just gonna come up and scream about the noise, you can call the town, if we approve this, and you thought it was noisy, you could call up the town, they'll send somebody down from the police department, they got those noise meters right in their cars. They'll go, okay, if it exceeds the noise limit, they'll get a citation if they don't stop, so.
All right, well, I don't think
Yeah.
it doesn't require comment, okay?
Yeah.
I don't think we're in the business of determining what the decibel level should be. My only comment in raising that is, I don't know where these people come off telling me it's 70 to 75. So there's nothing that tells us that, but there is, as we've just heard, a noise ordinance in the town of Yarmouth that is very strictly enforced, even out at the Bass River Golf Course. They enforce it, because we told them they needed to. All right, so we have again Ann Sanford, who says essentially what Fred says, Fred Stepanus says, that it's too densely populated community at Buck Island Village, that it's going to be a noise hazard to people living there, that it's going to adversely affect local restaurants, says Cheryl Ryan. It says here the intent is to keep it a year-round facility. I don't think anybody's going to be riding these things in December, but we can take care of that. if we so find a reason to support this petition. So again, they're from abutters saying the same thing from Ann Moynihan. Laura Hoey says the exact same thing. 10 p.m. is too late. I'm not anti-business, but I am dismayed. Some people say vehemently opposed. The residential community, this is from Dolores Fallon. This is to Dolores, sorry, Dolores, I'm doing it to you again. From Marilyn Manter, who says that the residential community is already endures a great deal of noise pollution from several different directions. Well, we can't control the airport for sure, which is one of the directions she references. And I'll presume the rest is along 28, though it's not noted. Although there is a complaint about the sound of ambulances and the like. Tina Pay says she applauds the initiative, but it's the wrong place. John Davis says the same. He suggests that you use electric vehicles instead of gas-fired. Marilyn Luck tells us about the Cape Cod, the beauty of Cape Cod, the history and identity of Cape Cod, and the like, with the same basic complaints. The same from Donna Bishop, who says, we live at Buck Island Village and we are opposed to this planned racetrack because of the expected noise, fumes, traffic, and light pollution. It's too close to residential areas. It's in a B2 zoning district. That means business. We have a note here, an email from Jean Milley. I have to shut my windows now, because the noise disturbs the peace. A go-kart even closer is not the same as music. It's going to be even worse, is essentially what's being said. Another person, Janet Morse, lives in Buck Island Village, and I'm sure her neighbors here will tell us their concerns. Marie Seifert, she emphasizes, I for one am opposed to this planned racetrack because of the expected noise, fumes, traffic, and light pollution. Melissa Barad indicates she lives at Buck Island Village and has a balcony and would like to listen to birds chirping. Me too, I like that. So those are what the letters essentially say. I mean, it'd be nice if we could sit here and read every word. I have every person that wishes to speak be here. But now we're coming to that portion where we're going to invite people to speak. And first, we're going to start with those people that are speaking in favor of the petition. And all of you, please, you can come right up if you're going to speak in favor, but you're going to wait till I invite you to speak, okay? Everybody that's out there, you're going to keep your comments short, and you're not going to be redundant. We don't need 5 people to tell us there's noise, pollution, and gas fumes. It just doesn't work that way. So think of that as you come up, because I don't want to embarrass anybody by having to shut you up, but I will. So why don't you come right up and tell us who you are, ma'am?
Hi, how are you? My name is Laura. I live right on Route 28 near Lewis, on Lewis Road, actually, right behind the beautiful white church. I finally moved here from Connecticut 2 years ago, and my family comes. Not all of them like to go to the inflatable park. I have some older children with grandchildren, and when I had heard about this proposal, I thought it was a great idea. Now, I can completely understand with noise and everybody, hearing that. I completely get that. I respect that wholeheartedly. Safety, definitely. But living in that direct area, I also hear the church bell, which is very loud, and sometimes it goes on and on and on. And understandable. The ambulances constantly, I have no control over that. I know something like this we have control over. But I also can hear music from local businesses, like I'm sorry, I don't know the name of the restaurant. It's Mariachi's, I think. It's on the corner. It's a Mexican restaurant near the Holly Tree. But I can hear their music playing. I can hear the water park. I expect hearing that when it's especially really busy in the summertime. But it's really not so overwhelming. I can also hear people at the beach. I can hear the boats going. I'm used to hearing all this noise, and it's not so overwhelming that I can't live there. I think it's great. I'm excited because it gives my family to come here to visit, to spend their vacation dollars, to have something else to do that's
I'm gonna
walking
ask you to
distance.
try and wrap up
Okay,
your
that's
comments.
fine, but I'm just saying, like, I think it's great. I mean,
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak in favor of the petition? If it's anything beyond what was said, please keep it to that.
Paul Leidenfrost, Precinct 6. I am a 12-year veteran of Yarmouth. I live and work in the town, and I am in favor of Ms. Curtis's vision for go-karts. And I have 2 boys.
Thank you. Now, there's a fellow that knows how to keep it succinct. Anybody else care to speak in favor? And again, please don't be repetitious of what we've already heard. Go right ahead.
We're Barbara and Patrick Laporte. We live in Buck Island Village, and we're for the go-kart. I think the research that Maria has done is wonderful. She's been meticulous, searched out everything that needs to be approached, and has done it very well.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You have anything in addition, or?
Yep. I hear all the complaints about the noise, and somebody said that if it's a certain level at a certain time, we should call the police. Do I call the police on a DPW because at 3 o'clock in the morning, their noise wakes me up?
I don't know, call the police.
What are they gonna do? You're not gonna go tell them to stop. So if you can live with the noise that goes on all day long, with some of these people who are complaining, that live right next to the DPW, how can you complain about the noise that's gonna come from this, which is gonna be very little, with all the woods back there, the cranberry bogs. So I think it's a great thing for the kids, families to do. So I really don't have an opposition to it at all. I'm in favor of it completely.
Thank you. Anybody else care to speak in favor of the petition? So come to the microphone.
How you doing?
We're good. How are you?
Good. Mike Putnam. I'm actually for the property.
Where are you living?
I actually live in the village of Barnstable.
Oh, okay.
However, I represent the landlord as part of that. So we don't have a plan in the immediate future for that property. So their plan is to actually beautify that area, make it cleaner, better looking, so it's not so much of an eyesore. I think with what they're going to do would take away the homeless people in the back and create something for the neighborhood to do. So.
Thank you. I think you make points. Yep. Does anybody else care to speak in favor of the petition? Does anybody care to speak in opposition to the petition? Come to the mic. Shh. You know what we do here? We allow one person to talk at a time. So, you, sir, would you tell us who you are and where you live?
Certainly. My name is Stephen Singer. I live at 481 Buck Island Road.
Okay.
I respectfully ask that you consider and include some conditions. Electric race cars versus gas race cars. It's been noted that Skull Island and Bass River Sports World, as a comparison, those are electric vehicles. They're practically silent. They're not gas vehicles. So I wanted to make that distinction. According to the EPA, gas-powered engines like those in go-karts produce the same emissions in just 1 hour as a typical car driving 350 miles. I wanted to make that point. If you were to approve gas-powered race cars, I would ask the board to consider, before approving gas-powered race cars, to have a noise analysis, sound level assessment report done and presented to you. I would ask for an air quality and environmental study to be done and presented to you. And I would ask for a noise mitigation plan once that sound analysis and sound level assessment report was done by the applicant. As far as fencing, I would request you impose a condition of 6 to 8 foot fencing around the perimeter of the property. In terms of trees, I would request that you condition buffer trees that you've talked about, and also as a condition that no trees at the back of the property can be removed. As a condition, I would ask for seasonal use to be defined as from Memorial Day weekend to Labor Day weekend, and not year-round use. As a condition, I would ask that the season from Memorial Day weekend, or the season could be from Memorial Day weekend to October 9th weekend, and not year-round use. I would ask the hours of operation to be defined as from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. from Memorial Day to Labor Day. I would ask for the hours of operation to be defined as from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. or when it gets dark from Labor Day to October 9th weekend. I would also ask for some noise conditions. I would ask that you condition that the applicant need to return to you here, the zoning board, after the end of the first season and prior to the beginning of the second season.
Right now, that would happen if we grant relief, so we can move on.
Wonderful, thank you. Also, it's been talked about as a temporary 3-year use only. I would ask that you condition the permit for being no longer than 3 years. And I would ask that if the current owner's plans change and the applicant were to be approved, that they would need to return to the zoning board as a new special permit, starting again. Thank you kindly.
Thank you very much.
I have everything here in writing, if you'd like me to submit that to the board.
No, I think we've got it. We're pretty good at remembering conditions.
Okay.
Thank you. We may not agree with all of them.
Certainly.
We thank you.
Thank you.
Who else would like to speak in opposition to this? Please. Just tell us who you are, please.
Hi, I'm Laura Doherty.
Hi.
I live in Buck Island Village. And I was thinking about the government agencies, auto manufacturers, not going away from gas-powered vehicles. And I find it troubling that that this proposal is being considered with the gas-powered vehicles. And speaking for my community, I am concerned about our property values, and you've heard, and quality of life, you've heard more than enough about light and sound. I do have something about sound. It's not the decibels as much as the continual, non-stopping sound. It's being proposed for 12 hours a day.
From Route 28? Or
Pardon
from
me?
some other place?
For this proposal.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, and on a personal level, I need quiet sometimes. I turn off TVs and radios when I want to read, when I want to write, when I need to pay my bills, and it's time for quiet reflection. I'm 78 years old, and I hate to think of going to the end of my life with noise, which I don't know the level of the noise, but I know it will be constant.
I think we understand your complaint is potential noise, and
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak in opposition? Please tell us who you are and where you
Yes,
live.
my name is Kent Carlson. I live at 481 Buck Island Road. I do have a question. What is currently allowed in the zone that they're at? Because they're asking for a change of zone or an exemption.
Yeah, well, the zone has varying locations for the varying uses.
Right.
And that's why this use was not zoned for this particular use table designation. But this happens all the time in business zones. You can't-
Understood.
You can't go around. You do it as a zone, okay?
Okay, so understood that
Wait, whoa, whoa,
mainly,
whoa. You asked the question, I'm trying to respond to it. So, there's, this is a permitted matter to come before this board and ask for a new use designation. This is a business zone, so businesses in general are allowed in this location.
okay, I do understand that, but if they're asking for a change, is it because it's not the normal business that would be envisioned in this area, like restaurants and hotels, or is any business allowed there?
No, it's when they drew a comprehensive zoning map, they didn't think to include this in the area.
Okay. Because of the noise at Buck Island Village, I'm thinking more about the noise to the nearby hotels. Now, when I go to a hotel, I don't want to hear the noise, and they're even close to that. Somebody spent an awful lot of money updating the Sundance properties, and it's right nearby. You've got the Cove. When I go there, I want to relax and not hear the noise. They're going to hear it more than we're going to hear anything at Buck Island Village. I think that's it. I think the idea of having a go-kart track, if they could use electrics, would be better, but it's great, but not there. I don't think it's the proper area. I think it's going to create too much traffic. During the busy season, it's tough enough to get on 28 and off of 28, and I don't believe that they're going to be able to accommodate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that wishes to speak in opposition to the petition with some point other than what we have now heard so succinctly and well said? Anybody else? All right, we now close it to public input. Petition, open it up to board discussion, to deliberation. Before we go there, I have another question. Is there any, is it my understanding there's only going to be one curb cut?
There are two existing curb cuts. We expect to only use one of them.
Well, it's not what you expect to use. Are you going to have your traffic somehow only come in the one?
Yes.
How?
As indicated on the plan, there's that one straight driveway. So the
I know, but how are you gonna shut off the other curb cuts?
cement barriers and plants?
We have trees proposed.
You have trees proposed?
There's the trees that we talked about, showed the.
Existing curb cuts, other than the one you're showing?
This one is existing, which we're going to maintain use of that. That's the proposal.
Is that shown on the plan?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, let me open the plan yet again.
Oh, it's right here, sir.
I can't see that far.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, come on.
Where's it? Right here. They're gonna
Is
put
that the
planters.
existing- is
These
that a curb cut right
existing
there?
And here.
Oh,
and
yeah, sure, sure.
They're gonna shut this off and just come in and out right here.
All right,
Yeah.
okay. So that's the only other curb cut on the property?
Yes, yeah, they got the two.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you very much. That was the only other question I had. Let's start with you, Mr. Martin. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I'm not excited about the use, but I understand the reasoning and need for entertainment. I'm a little concerned that it's, that they're looking for potentially year-round use or nearly year-round or whatever. I'm also a little concerned about the other area there that where they're not planning to do anything, because that's an eyesore right now where there's a, you know, where it says concrete pad on the plan where the old restaurant was. I guess that's just ugly as sin, and it looks like nothing is going to be done in that area. You know, I have some of the concerns that Sean brought up about the plan in general and pedestrians and how people are protected and so forth. I would agree with one of the parties that was against, who was speaking against it, and some of the things that he recommended, including a better study of what the noise is of this is, isn't a bad idea. Nor is it a bad idea to have electric vehicles. That would get rid of the noise and certainly be more environmentally friendly. I guess I'd like to hear why that can't be done if other people are doing it. If Bass River Sports World is using electric vehicles, which I think they are, because I have seen them as being quite quiet, I think that would be a logical alternative here, which would certainly take care of a lot of the abutters' concerns as well. So I guess I'm not terribly against it in many respects. I hate the temporary scenario of it because we're not getting what we would normally get in terms of proper buffers and proper plantings. On the other hand, I can understand the reasoning if it is only for 2 or 3 years. I think if we are going to approve it, it needs a lot of additional subject tos that are going to be added to it.
Okay,
That's all for now.
thank you very much. Mr. Mantoni?
I have a quick question. The concrete pad, what is going there? Is that just gonna remain empty?
The property owner actually has, is working on an agreement with a food truck to put a food truck there. So
truck
it will be cleaned up. It will be cleaned up, that area would be cleaned up. There would be a food truck on there. Like that was more in his agreement with that truck. Originally, it was just gonna be us, but then the truck came along and we could benefit him, he would benefit us, and he would be cleaning that area up as well.
In that space directly behind it there's no parking, what is that?
Correct. That's a wetland, that's with a 100-foot buffer zone, so there's no activities allowed.
Right behind the concrete pad?
It's just a dirt area from where the building was removed.
Yeah. And nothing's gonna go there, it's just gonna stay that way?
Well, at least as part of this proposal, there's nothing proposed for that. If the owner has separate plans for it, naturally, he would have to file for the appropriate permits or
You
licenses.
could add parking there if you needed to, right?
If you want more parking, we can expand the parking there. We could just clean it up and just, whether wood chip or something to make it look nice. I'm more than happy to do that, like that corner. We originally were going to do that, but then with the food truck coming in, we were gonna kind of leave it to him to see if he wanted to do his own picnic tables or such, but it's not an area that we would actively use.
Thank you.
Can I
I'd like
answer-
to see, I'm sorry?
Sorry, can I answer the question about, everyone is mentioning the electric carts? Can I
We'll
mention why?
Yeah, we
Okay.
won't have to go there right now. Maybe we'll come back to that if we
Okay.
could. I'd like to just keep it closed right now if we can.
Well, as far, I'd like to see that site developed or something happen. It certainly is an eyesore, it's just a vacant, nothing going on there. Certainly I understand, but we're in a business district here, as we've said. And it's unfortunate a lot of homeowners buy abutting business districts, and they have to deal with that. It's an unfortunate thing, but it is life. So, I'm leaning towards supporting it with a lot of conditions. I'd like to see more buffer planting, to be honest with you. I mean, those arborvitaes next to the restaurant are old and they're useless. And then closer to the motel might be beneficial as well for them.
I know that the hotel sign the hotel side has a large fence there, and if I need to plant trees, I would be more than happy to plant trees.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Igo?
Yes. First off, the concept, I think it's a great concept. I think, you're in a business zone, okay? I appreciate everybody's concerns that live out on Buck Island Road, but this is Route 28. I want to address the noise on these machines right here, too. You're telling me these machines have catalytic converters and mufflers on them? They're probably not much louder than a car, I would have presumed that.
A lawnmower. It's a
No.
lawnmower.
Lawnmower doesn't have a catalytic converter and a muffler on it.
Hello? Yes, they have a catalytic converter muffler. It's all made in one. These carts were all used.
Okay. So they're quieter than an open exhaust?
Oh, yes,
they're very quiet. Right, okay. So I'm not persuaded that it's gonna be overly noisy, especially when you're running 8 to 10 go-karts at a time. If you're running 50 or 60 at a time, I don't know, maybe.
And they only run for 6 minutes.
Okay. I will tell you where I am concerned, and I've expressed it before. I don't think you have to worry about servicing 10 go-karts going around the track. I think the concern you're gonna have is 100 cars pulling in there at 7 o'clock at night after they all come off the beach and the kids are yelling and screaming at their parents. This is the same thing that happened down at the water park. We knew that that was gonna be, they do 2,000 to 3,000 people. I think they can hold 2,000 people, can't they? It's incredible how many people can go in there. If you've never been in there, go in there someday in July. I've done a walkthrough before. This, I think, is gonna get overrun with people. You definitely need more parking. This single in and out, I personally just think it's gonna be a problem getting people in and out of there. I think this kid's gonna be walking in front of the cars. I think they're gonna be running across the street. They're not gonna be looking at cars coming by. They're gonna be looking at that go-kart running around the track. Their mother's gonna say, don't go over there. They're gonna run over there anyway, and more than one. So I'm really concerned about that. That's why I think this needs to be reworked, all right? I don't know, how you're gonna have the on and off the go-karts. I'd like to have a little more information on that, how you're taking the money, the point of sale, how many employees you're gonna have working there at once? How many people are gonna be working there at once?
Up to maybe 5.
5, okay. So you get people taking the money, you get at least 2 people in working the go-karts, right? All right. I mean, I've known people that have owned go-kart tracks, right? They are designed a lot differently than this. This is basically, you're showing up, you've got a parking lot, you're putting up a bunch of cones that look like a track, and you're putting up a tent and say, okay, everybody, give me your $10. I just don't see the safety here. I need more reassurance that this is gonna work, and I'm not there yet. I'll work with you. I think you need to redesign this, and I definitely think you need more parking. I think you need somebody to control traffic when they come in. I think there should be somebody out there directing traffic in busy hours.
Okay.
All right, I mean, these are all things that we addressed down there with the other people at the inflatable park. So, again, I'm not against what you want to do, but I'm not there yet regarding the way this is going to work, and I think you need to work on that. That's where I'm at, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Frapery?
I think I would just reiterate what was said around noise. I think that some kind of study that really identifies it from a professional as to what the noise level would be helpful, just to reassure me that it doesn't carry in whichever direction we're talking about. So that's one thing I think is
They
important.
could do that, Jay. They could go out there and start 10 go-karts and have a decibel meter sitting right there,
I know.
and come back with a register for us.
There's also they do professional studies and stuff like that, just somebody who does some kind of credence, that's what I'm looking for. And then I am concerned about the entrance and the safety. I think you need to have some kind of designated crosswalks from the parking lot onto the walkways, just to make sure people, whether it's bumps in the road or whatever, it's narrow, it's gonna be tight, people are gonna be running around. I agree with Sean completely in that regard, so I think there is some work that needs to be done on the layout and how traffic moves around, as well as the people move around within the facility. I think those are my most important comments.
Okay, thank you. As you know, there was a site review, and fire chimed in, indicating that they would need access, and I'd really like to get something from the fire department that tells me they have access and a suitable turning space in there, okay, as you've configured it. And as well, that instead of putting trees across the second curb cut, wait a minute, where's the curb cut? Oh, it's
Right
not
now,
one.
it's right here. This is the second one here, they're closing that off.
Probably need more trees to close it off, but.
Okay, all right. Well, I think the fire department was confused then, because they suggested that the closed curb cuts and have fire access through either a gate or a chain.
Oh,
some
their,
kind of
their
chain
gate concern was a gate to get into the track if there became a medical emergency on the track. So at the back center of the plan, there's
Okay.
actually there would be a, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
A gate for like an ambulance width so that they would have emergency access to the track itself. It wasn't to the site, it was to the
Makes
track.
sense to me, yeah. Reading it again, yeah, that makes sense to me. And it makes sense that that's where you'd, if anything's gonna happen, that's likely where you'd need it to be. The containment of the fluids necessary for these vehicles is between you and the Board of Health. And certainly any decision that might be considered favorably would have to have a condition that you comply with all the Board of Health requirements. I do agree that I don't like the opening, and I do not think 31 spaces is enough.
Okay.
You know, go down on a busy day to the inflatable park and see where they've had to expand onto other properties, acquire other properties just to facilitate parking.
They've got 500 spots.
And you know, grandparents come because they come in one car, and the kids come with their mom and dad in another car, and so now we got a whole bunch of people there to watch one or two children go around the track. Look, I think it's a great idea, okay? I wouldn't agree to a permanent location here. I don't think it's the right thing for what we want to see on 28, but it's a heck of a lot better than what we're looking at now, you know? And that's, if it's of a limited duration, that's great. And you couldn't come back here, you couldn't extend that duration without coming back before this board.
I understand that.
And to me, it's just a facilitation of your desire to make some money and the town's desire to improve the streetscape on Route 28. That's our marching order in this, for this board. Anybody can check the selectmen's goals, and you'll see that that's an important issue. It also is a good use of increasing our tax base. It's always something I'm a fan of. But what I'm not a fan of is the realization that you have to police yourself because we can't. Though, you know, but that's true of any business. But I do think that one thing you are going to have to do is be aware of how easy it is for any person to ask the police to come down at any time of day and do a sound meter on the property. I live in a residential area, and you'd think it was commercial because just about every landscape truck on Cape Cod is over there on any given Monday through Friday. And it seems like homeowners tell them to stay away on Saturday and Sunday. But I'll tell you what, it's incredibly noisy when I hear those backpack blowers, gas-fired backpack blowers. And you want to talk about a nuisance, and they far exceed the allowed decibel amount. But you know what? Everybody needs their leaves blown, and their grass and walkways cleaned up. So at the end of the day, I think Mr. Igo's concerns, Mr. Frapery's concerns are great, and we should address them before granting you this approval. But I don't think we need a professional to go out there with noise, listening, measuring devices. To me, that's an added expense that's going to take this season right out of play for you. And the police are the monitors of that. You know, we can go out there and have a perfect 70 decibel reading when you put 10 cots there on the ground and light them all up, start them all up. And then if they're actually on the track, speeding around, maybe that goes up to 170. I don't know. But I do know that if it happens, your neighbors are going to absolutely be on the phone to the police. So I think that's the measuring device right there. Let the professionals do it, not. I can't accept your representation about it. I do think that there is a policing method already in there. Yeah. I saw somebody's hand. Oh, okay. Well, in any event, what is it you want to have them, you want to see them do? I agree with Mr. Igo that this pattern you have here for on and off on the cots is almost unworkable.
Can I explain that situation? Okay. This is all fenced, this whole area is all fenced, it's all fenced in. You have a gate where the people stand outside. The people come to the gate, you bring in the 10 people. The 10 people go out onto the track. The 10 people come in, 10 people come out. You bring in another 10, you put them in the car.
Can I ask you a question?
Yep.
Where are the 75 people gonna stand that are waiting to get in?
This area down here is can be like 4 feet. We were planning on making it probably about 10 to 12 feet wide. This one area, all the way down here.
Well,
wall
I was gonna
blocks,
suggest to,
Wall blocks, all the way up here with spaces for the pedestrians to come across with crosswalks and just put,
you don't, you see, you said we were gonna do that. Why don't you
Well-
have it on your plan right now?
I don't know. I'm not the engineer.
Well, who's the engineer?
I am.
You are. Okay. Well, let me direct, you gonna stick around for this project?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, then let me just direct it to you, okay? You guys are, you guys aren't the engineers, all right? My concern is this 4-foot wide little walkway you got, that thing should be about at least 8 feet wide. You should have crosswalks coming from the parking lot. I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to your engineer, okay? When you come across your parking lot, where you're parking all the way back, they should be able to walk straight across. There should be an opening over here to walk in there. They should be directed in there and walk all the way down here, not walk around and walk down the driveway. That should happen with all of these parking lot areas here.
So you want them walking inside the fenced area?
Inside there, they walk straight across into that and then take a 90-degree turn and walk down here. And it's gotta be wide enough, it's gotta hold all these, I don't even know if 8 feet wide, you might wanna be 10 feet wide. You need to add more parking than 32 spaces, you gotta come forward, you need at least 90. And by the way, when is this, food truck coming in?
That's not a signed deal, that's,
Food truck comes in
yeah,
while you're in there, you need to come back here. Or
Okay.
they need to come in here.
okay.
Because that's gonna be an additional use on that property.
Sure.
And that's gonna be, I wouldn't say that I'd say no, but I wanna know where their people are all gonna park.
Down in Dennis, you see the bike path, the food truck, and half the people in the parking lot are there for the food truck.
Right, they're not there for the
You know,
bike.
at noontime, everybody wants a dog out of the food truck because they've driven through Connecticut.
Okay.
So but I think these are things that we need to see on a plan, inclusive of the designated crosswalk locations. And I agree, I thought I heard Jay mention it, but a speed bump or two.
Okay.
Yeah,
That keeps the racetrack outside of the racetrack
Okay.
from happening.
Okay, we can do that.
Do you know what Captain Parker's is down in West Yarmouth?
Yes.
Okay, you ever notice when you pull into Captain Parker's, the door's right there to go in?
Yeah.
It's a bad layout. I'm surprised they never changed it, but you still got the same thing. Okay, everybody's jumping out of the way. If cars are backed up, they have a hard time getting off 20, we don't wanna be backed up on 28, okay, with cars here. So, and this would definitely be a one-year review, and if it becomes a problem, I don't know, maybe it's just a one-year deal.
Okay.
Well, you know what, those are things we'll add as, consider as conditions when this plan comes back to us with the reasonable delineated matters we need to see on that plan, okay? Because it's almost nothing, right? And I'm not faulting you. You came in here with what you thought was gonna be the only relief you need. And if you want us to vote on that tonight, I can tell you right now, I don't even need to poll the parties. It's gonna be a no. But if we can make some reasonable accommodations, and I remember when the air park went up, and I'll never forget this, abutting neighbors, people abutting a B2 zoning district, said that they were against it because they didn't want to hear the noise of children during the day. And that's always stuck with me. If you notice, we've allowed that air park to expand several times, because children playing in the summertime is what it's all about.
They're a water park now, they're not an air park anymore.
Yeah. What is it now called?
It's a water park.
Oh, water park.
Used to be an air park, water park, yeah.
Whatever it is. All right, those are my comments, only comments. And with that, are you asking for a continuance to be able to provide that reconsidered plan?
Mr. Chairman, we are asking for a continuance, but could I ask you a clarification on something? We want to come back with something reasonable, it's obviously something that you all can support. And I guess I'm asking for a consensus. Mr. Igo mentioned 90, I think I heard, parking spaces.
Well, wait a minute, forget 90. Yeah, I'm sorry, I thought there was 60 in there, I was adding another 30. If you could put some parking spaces right
I
here.
just want to try and get,
That's what I meant, I'm sorry,
understood.
yeah.
That-
Yeah,
and-
that just, I don't know how many you can get.
You may have to also steal this parking space to make sure you have access to that back proposed gate, because right now it doesn't, I don't know how you get back there.
Yep, understood. We'll work all that out,
On
I
the speed
promise.
bumps, okay, they can be those plastic ones you just lay down.
Remove them at the end.
When you pull right in, a speed bump before you get to where you walk into the, all right? Maybe one in the, I'm thinking 3, which it can be a little overkill, but one when you first drive in, one here, and one just before you get to this parking lot over here. Beyond that, and then I would presume you would put up some signs that say 5 miles an hour. If we could have some
Let's not
signage.
presume it. If that's what you
Yeah,
want, let's see that on a plan.
Yeah.
Okay?
Was
Restrict the speed inside the parking lot to something reasonable. I don't know if five's it, but
Let me just tell you one area that kind of just allayed one of my concerns. If you make this walkway wide enough, and this, you said this is fenced in right here, if you don't allow people to walk in this way and they have to come in to get in here, all right, to pay, they have to come down this walkway and this is closed off to enter. That's out. Then I think you just control this area right here. Okay? So you've got a space here that people can stand, all right, a nice big waiting area. But if you control them, but not a 4-foot wide, but an 8 to, I would say 10. I know it's wide, but you're gonna have a lot of people hanging out. And I don't know if you guys are, well, I know go-karts, you wanna get them in and out of there. It's volume, you don't want people hanging around too long unless they're paying to, ride twice, but, and I don't know how much it is per ride, but that's none of our business. But that, I think if you come back, you got something that's safe like that, I think I can live with it.
Okay.
I just have a question, and maybe somebody knows. If you don't, that's absolutely fine. Is there a crosswalk from the Cove in this area?
Well, the Cove's over here, right here, yeah.
Yeah, but I bet a lot of those people are gonna be coming across.
I don't think they'll give you a crosswalk.
No, I'm not suggesting, I'm just asking, is there?
Sir, I don't know the answer to that question, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't remember one driving up and down every day. I don't think there is either. Okay, you got a march in order? When are we gonna come back?
Well, if you want to put a 5th one on June 22nd.
What, can I just see the list for the other?
Sure. Well, you want to know which petitions are on for the 22nd, is that what you're saying?
No, I wanna know what's on for the 27th. Are they, just a matter of, don't we have another meeting on the 27th?
22nd?
The 25th, rather?
25th, yeah.
25th?
May
this month?
25th?
Oh, May 25th, you've already, there's already 5 on there, we just added one from the last
It-
continuance.
But the pool,
Yes,
That's gonna be a short thing, I suspect.
the other ones, they're gonna be long ones, the other ones? They
well,
simple?
I mean, do you want to put 6 on May 25th?
What's the first
I mean,
Thursday
they
that
don't
we're
seem
here
to
in
particularly
June?
difficult.
What's
I'm sorry?
June?
June 8th already has 5.
Oh, yes, 5.
The 27th sounded good, sir.
22nd of June?
No.
May
Oh,
25th.
I thought it was May.
You're trying to get this up
May
and
one
running for
sounded
this
great.
season.
When did you plan on?
Well, they'd like to do it right now, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, the sooner the better.
just do
Not that they're small issues, but
on
they're
May
not gonna take long to do.
Resolve, yeah.
The other,
I understand, but there may be people that want to again speak. They're not going to be allowed to speak twice, but they may want to speak or offer some other submission. And, we'd like to go home at a reasonable hour every night that we're here. So, 5 may not seem like a lot to you, but it's a lot to us.
I didn't say, I was just asking.
no, I know. Mm.
I have have to nap every afternoon, okay? So, do we have anything that looks short, very short on the 27th? The pool should be short, what else?
Well, like,
I'm sorry, 25th.
on the 25th, you'd be having 6.
What type of relief is it?
Some of them are simple, like a mud room and a deck.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's possible. And one's the one you've seen before, which is
Is there anything controversial on that night?
I don't believe so, no.
Is it all basically quick 104.3.2s?
Yeah, I mean,
Additions? and-
Give it a shot.
Give
I
it a
know.
shot.
You're gonna be doing it by Zoom?
We're feeling generous tonight.
Yeah.
I'll attend. I promise I'll attend, but you'll chair. Or
Is
Mr.
there-
Martin, one or the other. I'm Mr. Antoni.
In your, trying to help you and make it as brief as possible, is there any other questions that I can try and answer for you before you go, so that you have it, like, we will amend our plan and implement your recommendations, but is there anything else that I can answer that has come up today that will help you with
I will say this
your
about your
decisions?
plan. I get it in front of us as quickly as you can to Dolores, because then we can look at it, and we're gonna look at it, and I can tell you, if we look at something, we have a concern, we're gonna tell her to tell you,
Okay.
look at this right here. We don't want you coming back, and we don't wanna continue you again,
Okay.
all right? We want it
think-
to be-
I want-
and
I
we
want
you
to
to
do-
be 5 minutes in your presentation, just, we wanna look at a plan, and we don't really need you to talk, we already know what you, we wanna know, we just wanna see on paper
Okay.
what we asked you to do.
Okay, because
so
that's,
I've
I
got
want
about-
to make you happy. I want to do what you recommend, and I
I
want
think
this
you've
to
got it.
pass.
I think you've got it.
I'd be
I've got
interested
10 conditions I
in
wanna
knowing
put
why,
in for you.
I'm sorry, Dick Martin. I'd be interested in knowing why we can't do the electric vehicles.
The electric vehicles cost about $15,000 per cart, and then there will have to be electrical installation, which is more of a permanent basis. I believe Bass River Sports World's electrical is actually like underground, so that when the carts pull in, that's how they charge. Electric vehicles also take a time to charge, so that if you had electric carts, they have to charge every couple rides, so it actually brings your rides down. But at $15,000 a cart for something that may be a temporary basis for 3 years, that's kind of out of our price range.
All right, it's a satisfactory answer.
You already own the gas-operated carts, right?
So to answer your question, I don't know about these other gentlemen, but I have easily 10 or more conditions that I would want to put on this. But they do not require any additions to your plans other than what we've already talked about. Does that answer your question?
As long as I've answered all yours, yes.
If you give us a substantive plan, we're not gonna have another prolonged hearing like this.
Okay.
We're gonna either consider a motion made by somebody to either approve, definitely with conditions, or to deny. That's what's gonna be, thumb up or thumb down. So, I mean, we're not promising we're gonna do anything with this, okay?
I understand. I just want us all to understand the same thing, and like with Mr. Igo, with the trying to look through the tent to see how it will operate. We can try and do that as well. In all honesty, the setup is actually just like Bass River Sports World, except for our ticket booth. How Bass River Sports World we had originally thought of putting a building, but because of the requirements, we went with a tent, but it's going to be the same entry
Can I
as
suggest something on your tent here? Why don't you pretend that you took the roof off the tent?
Okay.
See how it's dark?
So see how
Just have
it
the
goes through it.
bordered right here, and on the inside, just show like 6 go-karts sitting ready to go.
Okay.
And they can just kind of show us how they leave and show us how they come in.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do
That's
that.
easy.
If you do
Thank you.
that, okay?
Okay.
That's good suggestion.
Yeah, it's awful hard to visualize, because we don't know the length of a car. What I just saw were longer than I thought they were gonna be, but that's okay. I'm back in the 60s with shorter cars.
I understand, and like that, I understand it,
Right.
you've been to F1, you understand the carts, you understand that how they run, and some people do and some people don't, and I, like that,
All right, we've got a plan.
Answering all the
You
questions.
need to sign, somebody needs to sign an extension agreement that's right over there in order for us to continue it to that hearing.
Move to continue this matter until May 25th.
Okay? All in favor of that motion to continue to May 25, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed? That carries unanimously. There may be three of us, Mr. Martin, by Zoom, huh?
It's gonna be a remote.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Again, if you can get that plan into us as soon as you can, so all of us can look at it, and if we have any problems individually, we can bounce it off to Loris and bounce it back to you. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Move to adjourn.
All right, no, we can't, we've got a little bit more business. We've got, no,
Minutes?
yeah, minutes.
Move to approve the minutes.
I second. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Martin?
What about that zoning administrator
Get
discussion?
him tonight. We got no time for him.
All right, let's move to adjourn, please.
Move to adjourn.
Everybody in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
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 Aye.